September 4th meeting of the City of Raleigh Design Review Commission. My name is Will Gaskins, and I'm chair of the commission. The Design Review Commission is a public body appointed by the City Council that exercises both advisory and quasi-judicial functions. The commission's responsibilities relate to zoning and other land use matters, as well as the visual quality and aesthetic characteristics of the city. Today's agenda includes requests for design alternates from the city's Unified Development Ordinance. When hearing requests for design alternates, the commission sits as a quasi-judicial body and conducts an evidentiary hearing on the request. That means it is like a court hearing. State law sets specific procedures and rules concerning how this commission must make its decisions. The commission's decisions are constrained by the standards in the city's ordinance and the facts presented at the hearing. The commission hears and considers evidence presented at the hearing and applies the standards set forth in state law and the city's ordinance. The commission must base its decisions upon competent material and substantial evidence presented at the hearing. If you'll be speaking as a witness, please focus on the facts and standards, not personal preference or opinion. This meeting is open to the public and everyone is welcome to watch. However, participation in the evidentiary hearings is limited. Parties have rights to participate fully. Parties may present evidence, call witnesses, and make legal arguments. Witnesses may testify as to facts to which they are competent to testify, so long as those facts relate to the legal standards. In addition, lay or non-expert witness testimony is limited to facts, not opinions. For certain topics, the commission needs to hear opinion testimony from expert witnesses. These topics include projections about impacts on property values and projections about impacts on traffic safety. Okay. So I believe we have 5 to hear the Omni case now. So maybe we will move forward with that first. And was that the minutes? Sure, let's do the minutes. Don't have that in front of me, but that would be the minutes from the August 7th meeting. Do I have a motion to approve minutes or other alterations?
I'll motion to approve minutes as submitted.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, okay, that passes. Okay, let's shift the order around because the city is the applicant in the DA5 case. We'll be changing out attorney at the table, as well as there's a couple of recusals. So we're going to do that case first. We'll do DA4 second, DA6, then DA7. So I will start that off with Kyle will be chairing for that hearing, and I would request the commission vote to approve a recusal for me. I just have a work conflict with being pretty closely connected to this project. And then Dave.
Yep. McAdams, my employer, is a consultant. Also request recusal.
Motion to recuse Chairman Gaskins and Mr. Toms from this case.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thanks.
We will now open the evidentiary hearing for DA5 2025 on today's agenda. Casey Evans will introduce the hearing. Casey, can you, I don't know how to do the swearing in, but.
Don't swear me in.
Yes. Do you swear to affirm the testimony you will provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes. All right, as you mentioned, this is DA5 2025. The property is 10 West South Street, located at the northeast corner of West South Street and South Salisbury Street. The property is zoned downtown mixed use, 40 stories with the shop front frontage. The applicant is proposing to construct a 29-story mixed-use building for a proposed hotel with 3 levels of underground parking. The proposed development comprises the entire block at this location. The applicant has applied for a total of 14 design alternates, and I'm going to go through them type by type to hopefully make it a little bit easier to follow. So first, we have a request related to the outdoor amenity area requirements, and that's to allow more than 50% of the required outdoor amenity area to be located on an upper level of a building. Amenity areas are intended to provide usable outdoor space for the enjoyment of occupants and visitors of a site. The UDO limits outdoor amenity areas on upper levels of a building to a maximum of 50% of total required amenity area. For this type of design alternate, we have 3 findings that need to be met. Next, we have several transparency-related design alternate requests. Requests 2, 3, 4, and 5 are to reduce the ground story transparency required for each side of the building, again, on the ground story. Request 6 is to reduce the transparency on the 5th story of the building on the side that faces West-South Street. And then the last request is to allow the glass to be 66% transparent instead of the minimum 80% required. Transparency requirements are intended to provide visual interest to street-facing building facades and required for each side of the building facing a public street. A minimum of 66% transparency is required on the ground story of the building, and a minimum of 20% transparency is required on each of the upper stories. And because this building has street frontage on all 4 sides, that lends itself to the number of requests that we see here. And here are the 2 findings for design alternates related to transparency. Next, we have 3 design alternates related to building step-back requirements, and that is for relief from the step-back requirement along South Salisbury Street, along Fayetteville Street, and along West Lenoir Street. The applicant's proposing to comply with the step-back requirements on South Street. The UDO requires buildings greater than 13 stories tall to have at least 12-foot deep step back located between the 1st floor and the 13th floor for each side of the building facing a public street. To grant these requests related to step back, design alternates have to meet the 5 findings shown here. Next up, we have the transportation-related design alternate requests. Request 11 here is for relief from the requirement that vehicles maneuver in a forward motion when entering or exiting a parking area. The city's site access requirements are intended to provide well-connected street networks, safe and efficient and convenient access within and between developments, and to lessen traffic congestion. And design alternates to this section of the code have to meet the 4 findings here. Next up, we have a design alternate from our streetscape requirements, and that is to reduce the streetscape width along West Lenoir Street. The city's streetscape requirements are meant to reflect the character of different areas in the city and provide adequate travel lanes for vehicles, cyclists, and pedestrians. And again, we have the 6 design alternate findings for this type of request available for you while you're having your discussion. And last but not least are the requests 13 and 14 related to the proposed driveways. Request 13 is to reduce the driveway spacing between 2 proposed driveways on South Salisbury Street, and a request to reduce the driveway to intersection spacing between a proposed driveway on Salisbury Street and the intersection of Salisbury Street and South Street. And similar to the findings that you just saw related to streetscapes, there are 6 findings for these requests related to the driveways. With that, I'm available for questions, and I'll invite the transportation reviewer up in the event they have any comments to share.
Thank you, Casey. The applicant will now present evidence and legal arguments in support of the request. As a reminder, any evidence and argument must focus on the applicable standards. Mensa.
Good evening.
Yes. Do you swear to affirm that the testimony you will provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. All right. You have the floor.
Thank you for the floor. Ultimately, there's been a
Get the
series
witness
of
to state
ongoing.
his name for the
Oh, I'm
record.
sorry.
Sorry.
May you state your name and your relation to the case?
Sure. Mensa Webb. I am the plan reviewer for transportation for the site.
Thank you.
There's been a handful of meetings going on for the last several months with the development group, working with the city staff. Ultimately, our conversations are moving to be in support of what they're looking to get relief from. So just want to let the commission know.
Appreciate that. And after we hear from the applicant, we'll probably certainly have questions for you. Now, the applicant will present evidence and legal arguments in support of the request. As a reminder, any evidence and argument must focus on the applicable standards. Before you begin, I do want you to alert you to the fact that we don't have all 9 members. We do have quorum, but you will need all members to vote in the affirmative. Do you wish to proceed?
I think we do. Thank you.
All right. May you please state for the record your name, address, in relation to the case?
Sure. I'm Wyatt Booth. I'm with the law firm of Williams Mullen here in Raleigh. Our address is 301 Fayetteville Street, Suite 1700. I'm here representing Omni, who's the developer for the project. City is obviously the property owner, but Omni is the one building the hotel. With me here today, I've got Zach Cook and Brady Nix with Omni, if you'll raise your hands for the commission. I've got Rob Rule with RJTR. They're the design architects for the project. I've got Eric Antrim with Tally, landscape architect. David Lasley with Piedmont Land Design, and Nate Boquin with McAdams, who's our traffic expert. Let's see. So I'm just going to take the commission on a brief tour before we start the evidentiary portion here. You'll see the project site. This is just an aerial. Doesn't show you too much. This is a photo taken facing westbound on Lenore. So that's 555 Fayetteville on the right side, and the corner up ahead there is Fayetteville Street. You'll see the loading bay for 555 Fayetteville on the right. And moving up Lenore, there's the back of the house for Marriott. Project site's on your left. This is the corner of Lenore looking southbound on South Salisbury. You'll see the Residence Inn on your right and the project site's on your left. Of note, the current egress for the parking lot that is the current site is right there at the corner of Lenore and South Salisbury. This is looking eastbound on South. Again, 555 Fayetteville in the distance. Martin Marietta Center and the open space for that development is over on the right, Licton Plaza. And then the project site is on the left side there. You'll see the ingress point for the current parking lot right there at the corner of South Salisbury and Lenore. And then this is looking back up Fayetteville Street. You see the Marriott in the distance, project site on your left, and then Fayetteville Street in the distance. This is, it hasn't been put to record yet, but this is the recombination plat for this site. And the reason I wanted to present it to the commission is you'll see the dimensions of the site as redesigned, as recombined, result in a site that's just over 1 acre in size. And Fayetteville Street, you'll see the recombination there. Fayetteville Street's going to be reopened in the middle, and then there'll be a resultant site over on the right, also of about 1 acre in size, that is surface parking now. And the city will retain that for future development. And this is a rendering, current rendering of the project as planned. So moving to the first request here, And Commissioners, you tell me how you'd like to take these. My plan was to present them to you sort of one at a time and vote as each one comes, but I'm happy to do them all in a batch and have you all vote at the end. I mean, Mr. Chairman, you tell me how you'd like to proceed.
Typically, we've had applicants present the entire case, and then we'll kind of discuss the points in order and vote for them after it's all been presented.
That's fine. No problem at all. So the first request relates to the outdoor amenity area for the project. We're seeking relief from UDO Section 1.5.3C1 with respect to the street level amenities for the project. Rob, if you want to come up now, I'll introduce you to Rob Rule. If you'd like to swear him in.
Yes. Before you begin, can you please state your name, address, and relation to the case?
Yes, I'm Robert Rule with RJTR Design out of Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm the lead design principal at RJTR for the project.
And do you swear to or affirm that the testimony you will provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
So continuing with that, Rob, would you state your current position and your title at RJTR?
Yes, so I'm a principal at RJTR, and I'm the lead design on the project, leading a large team for this, the hotel.
And would you give the commission your educational background, please?
Yeah, so I was a student at Georgia Tech for 6 years, and because I'm a native of Atlanta, Georgia, although I've practiced in North Carolina many years. I've been in front of this commission many times. But yeah, I have a master's degree in architecture.
And when did you graduate?
1990.
1990. And what have you done since then?
Oh boy, 14 years at a large firm in Atlanta, 1 year with a large firm in New York City, and then the past 20 years, my partner Dan Joy and I have run RJTR Design, and we've practiced all over the country and have numerous, dozens of projects all around the Carolinas.
What's your current specialty?
We do a lot of hospitality work. We particularly do resort hotels, conference center hotels, very much like this. We've done other Omni hotel designs. We also do multifamily and office buildings as well.
And you've worked on this particular Omni hotel project, correct?
Yes, it's since 2019, actually.
So do you consider yourself an expert in your field of work?
I would.
At this time, Commissioners, I'd offer Rob Rule as an expert in architectural design. Let me move your iPad here so I can advance these slides.
Mr. Chair, did you accept him as an expert witness?
Yes.
So looking at what is slide 16 in our presentation here, Rob, you want to tell the commission what we're looking at here?
Yeah, so this is a floor plan of the 5th level of the hotel. This is an outdoor, open outdoor amenity area that has a pool. It has a pool bar that would serve food because it's adjacent to a 3-meal restaurant that all guests of the hotel and other guests and invited people in the public can come up here and have drinks, food, and enjoy the outdoor amenity space. The outdoor amenity space has mature trees designed into the space, lots of seating areas, and a variety of spaces up there. The space that you see colored in the reddish color that's on your screen, it exceeds the overall outdoor amenity space required for this size site by about twice as much as it is required. Now, the design alternate we're looking for is at the ground level. Because our site is so small, as Wyatt said, it's about an acre, and this is a conference center style hotel that requires every bit of that acreage to fit on the site. I could walk you around the ground floor if you want to, but the ground floor is pretty packed with program that needs to be at the ground floor of any hotel that would be designed on this site. All of the lobby space, the arrival porte cochere, the food service that you need at the ground level, and all of the back of house type spaces, the service, loading docks, the mechanical spaces, the exit stairs that come from above, pretty much fills up the site. So we have very little opportunity to provide that amenity space on this level. We have some, you see it in the red area there, that meets the technical definitions of outdoor open space. It doesn't quite get us there, though. It's a little less than half that's required on the ground floor. We would ordinarily have all that space on the ground floor if the site wasn't recombined per what Wyatt just described a little while ago. If you look at the right side of the plan on Fayetteville Street, the new Fayetteville Street that's planned to go here, which was previously part of the site, and now it is not because the right-of-way comes onto and over the entire sidewalk. If we were to be able to account that entire sidewalk, which you ordinarily would do, all of that area would be open amenity space that would be counted and would meet and fulfill the requirement of the space. So we are actually using some of that. You can see a terrace that's sort of shaded in the bottom right-hand side of that screen, right outside of an entertainment bar, a sports bar kind of, at that corner. That's going to be a really fun hangout place right there. We do have outdoor space there in that shaded area. You can see what we're talking about. And then at the top corner, we actually have a cafe that would have a little bit of outdoor space on the public city sidewalk once it's recombined, but ordinarily that would be considered the outdoor amenity space for the project. So I would contend that we have that space. It's there. It just technically doesn't meet it because it's in the right-of-way from the recombination that the city required.
If you would, Rob, walk the commission very briefly through the amenities that are available to the public
Sure.
On the first floor.
Sure. So starting at the right-hand side, that's Fayetteville Street. We paid a lot of attention to making that a very active, vibrant space all along from top to bottom, north to south. At the top right-hand corner, that's the cafe I mentioned. It would have a lot of openness and open right up onto the street. We envision some bistro tables right outside that space, very visible as people are walking southward from the north part of downtown towards the Performing Arts Center. Just past that, there would be an entrance into the hotel itself. It would be signed, so you would feel like the Omni Hotel has presence on Fayetteville Street. Just south of that, there's actually a really cool entrance into a very upscale restaurant that would actually be in a second-story location, but we're going to have it's not a speakeasy, but it's that kind of cool design aesthetic where it's just the door on the street. You might see a menu box, and you go in, but then you go right up. So we have a really cool entrance into another restaurant that's elevated inside the building. Then once you get past that, the rest of the block, about half the block, is this entertainment bar, sports bar, that we've got with an indoor-outdoor space, walls that could open up and have a lot of openness inside and out. And then as you come around the corner on South Street, moving around, we do have some exit stairs that have to be in any kind of hotel like this. You got to bring people from all the meeting space up above down to the ground. So we've got a couple of exit stairs there at the corner. But then once you go past that, we start to open up the South Street facade to the porte cochere, the arrival for the hotel. So the lower left corner, we'll talk about this more in a little bit, but that's the entry into the porte cochere off of Salisbury Street. And you can see the cars that we have shown stacking in the porte cochere, which is all commensurate with a hotel of this size. That would feel like a nice open arrival space, very tall ceilings, a lot of good light. There's some planters involved with the design of that. We'll see that on the renderings. But that'll be very open, very bright. You'll be able to, from the outside, from the street, you'll see into the lobby space itself. And there's a lobby bar inside that lobby that you will see from the street. Lots of presence from the street with the light and the glow and the activity that you'd see there. So moving north on Salisbury, so getting into the top left corner of the project, this is where we start to get into what I was mentioning. We've got to get a lot of back-of-house stuff, meaning all the stuff that makes a hotel work. With not just the stairs and the elevators, but also the service and the loading docks and the place for electrical service to come into the building, plumbing service to come into the building. All those things that make a building of this size run they start there in that top left corner and then move all along most of the facade of Lenore up there.
I'm going to move back briefly here to one of our renderings, if it'll go for me. If you would, Rob, tell the commission a little bit about the agreement with the city as to Fayetteville Street and the reopening.
Right. So currently, the Fayetteville corridor is a pedestrian corridor today. The plan from the city is that should be reopened and become a continuation of Fayetteville Street, and so we've embraced that. It wasn't, when we started working on this many years ago, that wasn't the case, but now we've embraced that. And working with the city, working with Mensa, as he mentioned, with the streetscape, with the sidewalks, with the parallel parking and all the site lighting and trees, we've made Fayetteville Street feel like a really great walkable street all the way through the block that has cars going through there. It has very active front, so you can see at the leading corner here, you can see the cafe I was mentioning. So that would be very open and transparent and very welcoming for guests and customers to come in there. Right above that, like I said, it's sort of a hidden thing. We've got this we'll have a great restaurant that actually sits above that cafe. And the entrance to that is that right in the middle of the block, you see that kind of orangey glow. That would be the entrance into that with the hotel entrance to the right of that. And there's a very discreet hotel entry there. And then everything past that, we've designed a special building, if you will. The aesthetic of the language of the architecture is going to change a lot for the entertainment sports bar, and it's mostly brick and glass and metal, and it looks like a two-story building that maybe it was there before this hotel was built on top of it and around it. It was the idea. And so you can see the impression that building's going to have there as it comes around the corner.
So, Rob, in your expert opinion, if this design alternate request were approved, would it meet the intent of the outdoor amenity area regulations?
I believe so, for sure. I mean, this is going to be a great street that does have the function of the open outdoor amenity space along the street that would meet the intent, even though legally, the way the recombination plat moved the right-of-way, it's in the right-of-way.
Did you say that the fifth floor amenities will be open to the public?
Open to the public, and the combination of what we have on the fifth floor and that small amount of space that we technically can count on the ground floor, we exceed the open space by twice what is required.
Rob, in your expert opinion, does the design alternate provide usable outdoor space that does not hinder pedestrian comfort or safety?
Yes.
And finally, Rob, if the design alternate were approved, does it use landscaping, seating, GSI, or other features, and is it clearly accessible for uses?
Yes.
Does the commission have any questions about this element of today's requests?
Could you describe briefly the movement from the ground to the fifth floor? Is that done through the hotel lobby, or is there another means?
Yeah, through the hotel lobby, yeah, and it's a through lobby, so it's open to Fayetteville Street and to Salisbury, and the public can just come in there, and they can get to the elevators and go right up to the fifth, and it would be well signed. I mean, they want that traffic, yeah.
So if you could count the space where Fayetteville Street will extend, how much area would you have of amenity space then?
If we could count it by the technical definitions of the just pedestrian space from behind the curb to the face of the building, if we counted all that, I don't have the exact number off the top of my head, but I know it was over 1,000 square feet. And that's all we would need to get to the.
Looks significant.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get there. There we go. Come on, computer. There we go.
All right.
So, Commissioner, here's the recombination plat. You'll see the dimensions of Fayetteville Street. I'm having a little trouble reading the distance there, but
Yeah,
it
I'm
looks
good.
like
Yeah.
80 by 200 or so.
Mhm.
Any other questions for Mr. Rule on this element? If
don't
none,
believe so.
none, we'll move on to the next item, which is transparency. So, Rob, if you would, so here on transparency, Commissioners, we're asking for relief from UDO Section 1.5.9.B1. And you'll remember from Casey's initial presentation, it's a variety of requests, but it's all related to glass transparency at various levels of the hotel, and Rob will walk you through that now. So, Rob, what are we looking at here on slide 21?
All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through each of the 4 facades, street-facing facades, and talk about the transparency that we do have. And we have calculations to support all that in your package. You can see the actual calculations for the 0 to 12-foot zone and the 3 foot to 8 foot zone. It's all there, and we'll talk about that. But we'll go with one elevation at a time and talk about what we actually have as far as transparency, and then when we are short on all 4 facades. Just straight, they're all 4 short, some more than others. But we'll then talk about the design alternates that we have put in place with changes in materials and architectural features, landscaping, and public art. So this facade right here is the Salisbury facade. The porte cochere is on the right, so it's very open on the right, obviously. And you can, like those big openings that you see there, you're looking right into the lobby. Well lit, big, tall, high ceilings, so you're looking in very open and active and meets the definition of transparency. The left-hand side, as I mentioned before, this is where we have a lot of the back-of-house type functions, vertical circulation. The ramp down to the parking deck, I didn't mention before, is right behind that solid wall that you see there to the left. But what we have done here is we've actually pushed that wall back and created an opportunity for a public art installation. And the idea is that a local artist would be commissioned to take that wall as a palette, not just there, but as it turns the corner on Lenore as well. And so it becomes a 3-dimensional art piece. And we'll look at that in the perspective later, what we mean by that. But we feel like that's going to be a really special corner there for an art installation. Can we go move to the next elevation?
Go ahead.
Yeah. Is the arrow here?
Yep,
Yeah.
there you go.
All right, so we go over to Fayetteville Street on the opposite side of the block. This elevation, we actually just about make the transparency requirement. We're just a little bit short, and this has a lot of transparency at the cafe on the right-hand side, transparency at the Omni Hotel entry. The door to the special restaurant upstairs is more solid, so that's a little bit of a solid piece. But then that entertainment sports bar is very transparent. You see a lot of glass there, but there's two stairs that come down on this facade. Once again, we have a high occupancy of content up above, a load up above that has to come down. Those 2 stairs bring us just under the transparency that we need to have by technical. But as I said before, here we're taking that sports bar look and we're creating that idea that it looks like a 2-story building that might have been here in the past. In the history of, and that brick would feel like something indigenous to Raleigh, and then the rest of the building was built around it. So that's the architectural feature that we're proposing for that as an alternate. Then as we move around to the South Street facade, on the right-hand side, one of the large stairs that I was mentioning from above is coming down at that corner, so that's why that's solid there. And it's a rather large stair. We have a little bit of transparency on the right-hand side there. We've got a little bit of glass in the middle, and then we got the porte cochere on the left-hand side. So 2 strategies here for design alternates. On the right-hand side, obviously the same thing. The sports bar has the brick look that's very distinct and very different than the rest of the building. And then on the left-hand side where the porte cochere openings are, this is an area where the pedestrians don't just walk into the porte cochere because the vehicles are coming up and down right here, so we want to keep it safe. So we're going to put some built-in planters there, and we're not showing it in this elevation, but you can see it on the renderings. We're going to have some really nice landscaping there. What's nice about that is when you're in the lobby and when you're in the porte cochere looking southward, you're seeing a low foreground of landscaping that we're providing into the park across the street at Martin Marietta. So that'll kind of flow together from an urban standpoint. And then the last elevation, this is the one where we have the least amount of transparency. And naturally so. This is where the loading dock, the service areas are, the entrance for electrical, plumbing, the fire control command room is all on this side of the block. So we have a little bit of transparency on the left-hand side at Fayetteville Street that you'll see. That's where the cafe is. Above that is the restaurant above. But then it's pretty solid, although the strategy here is we're breaking up that side. We're not having any blank walls. You can see a change in materials. There's metal panels, there's brick, there's precast, there's different colors of glass that happen. So we're really breaking up the facade and all along that way from left to right. And then over on the right where you see that the wall on the right there on that first floor, that's where that art installation will turn the corner from Salisbury Street. And so we'll finish off that corner with the art. Any questions on that walkthrough on those 4 facades?
If you would, Rob, talk a little bit about transparency on the 5th level as well. around the pool deck, what will the finished product look like on the pool deck as far
It'd
as?
be wide open. I mean, it's going to be wide open up there in the open amenity space with great views. I mean, looking south and looking even over towards Dorothea Dix Park.
Glass see-through railings?
Glass see-through railings, yep.
How about the type of glass that's being used and the transparency levels on the type of glass being
Yeah,
used
so
compared to what's being required?
Yeah, right. So we've seen this on just about every project we brought before this committee in the past, the 80% visible light transmittance requirement on the glass at the ground floor. The glass that we have is 68% visible light transmittance, but it's based on a ultra clear glass substrate. And the particular glass that we're doing, I would posit that nobody in this room, maybe except one or two of you, could tell the difference between 68% and 80%. This is ultra clear glass. It's the technical nature of how much UV is actually filtered out of it for energy code, because our glass meets the energy code better than a glass that would be truly clear at 80%. It wouldn't meet North Carolina energy code. So I would say that we have really clear glass. It will come across as very, very clear, meets the intent, but it does perform to the energy code.
Rob, in your expert opinion, does the requested design alternate, is it consistent with the intent of the transparency requirements?
Yes.
And in your expert opinion, are the street-facing building facades utilizing other architectural, artistic, or landscape treatments to create visual interest or to offset the reduction in transparency?
Yes.
Thank you, Rob. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Mr. Rule on this item?
Yeah, on the 5th floor, can you walk us through what was included in that calculation? Like, it's not a lot, right? It's 20%, and it looks pretty transparent. So I'm trying to wrap my head around what was actually calculated.
On the for
5th floor.
For the transparency? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there it is right there. So if you look at, I can't zoom into that. You can see the glass handrail at the top of the base of the building right there, right? Yeah. So,
But was that included in the calculation that you had to make to get to the 20%?
no, it was not.
I suspect it captures the base of the tower.
Yeah, it's really the base of the base of the tower.
And what is that in this building?
Yeah, and that's transparent glass. So at the 5th floor.
Yeah, I was just curious why you weren't meeting that transparency. Is that in the package that we got?
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. Let me back up here. So what you'll see is here. So at the 5th floor, you see the level. You see the 5th floor level there. You see where it's dark shaded glass versus the white color. Yeah. So on the 5th floor, there are mechanical spaces that need to be there for the base of the guest room tower. So that we actually have back of house stuff that's there that need to be there. So the transparency physically isn't there because that's actually, it's still glass, but it will be, it'll be glass that has no pacifier on the inside because it's actually got space on the inside that won't be lit up nicely. So we do need that for the mechanical spaces there. So everything you see there on the 5th floor and this floor, on this elevation as well, would be the spandrel glass.
I got you.
Yeah. So we're slightly under there, yeah.
Yeah. If anybody's playing along in our packet, it's on page 44, kind of walks through it. It's a lot more clear, but okay, thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Any other questions for Mr. Rule?
Nope.
Our next request relates to building massing. And this, of course, is the step back of the tower. As designed, the tower runs vertically straight up from the street. So, Rob, looking at slide 31 here, would you describe for the commission what we're
Yeah,
looking at
so
here?
just to correct Wyatt's comment right there, just a little bit, the building doesn't all run straight up from the street. What we've done here, we've done three things to address this design alternate. One, we've taken the mass of the guest room tower of the building, we pushed it as far north as possible for two reasons. One, it moves it away from the lower scale of south of town and moves it towards the higher scale that is on the north side of the site. Towards the, so the building mass is actually weighted toward, on the block, it's weighted towards the higher density that we have in downtown versus the lower density at the Performing Arts Center in down. So that's one thing we've done. Related to that is that then has a step back, if you will, above the base of the building. And you can notice one of the design alternate requests is to have a distinct base of the building. We have a very distinct base of the building. You've seen it on the elevations, you've seen it in the renderings. You can see it here in this diagram. We've got a very distinct base of the building, and we've stepped back the tower 145 feet off of South Street. So in essence, that is a step back. So it's a step back. Where we don't have the step back, the 12-foot prescribed step back above the base is the portions on the other three sides. And that's where it's highlighted in red here. This is actually a diagram that shows the by right massing of a 40-story building that we'd have by right with the 12-foot step back, right? And what we've done is we compared that. This is the by right scheme, the baseline scheme is what we call it, to what we've actually done. What we've actually done is we don't have that red zone with the 12-foot step back that you saw previously, but we've lowered the height of the overall massing. That makes a huge difference, and I'll tell you why. We looked at the two other big reasons that this particular zoning ordinance is in place, and that is for pedestrian comfort at the ground level related to shade and shadow on the sidewalks, and then also to prevent the wind tunnel effect by tall buildings that are close together and creating an opportunity for uncomfortable walking and sitting on the city street. So we assessed that. And what we did...
Let me pause you for just
sure.
a second there. This white space next to the tower on this drawing,
Yes.
what is that? Because that's not the pool area.
That's not the pool area. That's actually the ballroom. And that's the ballroom roof. And that, I meant to mention that before. When we moved the tower all the way to the north, it also provided the opportunity to get a ballroom size without structure going through it. So column-free ballroom space, which is the most desirable kind of space to have, that the city and Omni prefer and want to have in the city. That allowed for that maximum ballroom space.
Thank you.
Yeah. So to look at the pedestrian comfort at the street level related to shade and shadow and the wind, the first thing we did was some solar studies. And what you'll see in these diagrams is that the top series of drawings are based on that baseline massing I showed you with the 40-story building with a 12-foot step back on those three sides. The study at the bottom is the current design that we have today that we're presenting, which is the lower building without the step back on those three sides. And what I would say to you is that moving left to right, left would be the winter solstice, in the middle would be the spring and the fall solstice, and on the right would be the summer solstice. At the winter, fall, and spring, there is no discernible difference with shading and shadow on the sidewalks. In the summertime, it is almost undiscernible. I mean, it would be hard. You can look at the diagram on the top right and the bottom right to compare the two, and it's almost indiscernible the difference that the massing that we're proposing makes from the baseline that we can make. So I would argue that there will be no degradation of the pedestrian experience related to shade and shadow on the street. And then we studied that at different times of day as well. That was one time. This is another time of day. You can see the exact same data. On the left and in the middle, no discernible difference at all. On the right-hand side, it's barely discernible. Most people wouldn't even notice that. And then the last diagram is just the opposite end of the day towards the afternoon, and I would once again say it's almost an indiscernible difference. So that's one part of that, the justification for the massing. The other is the comfort level for pedestrians related to wind. We obviously do not want to create a wind tunnel effect here, so the only way to really know that is to really do a wind study. So we sent this off to CPP Wind Engineering out in Denver. They performed a physical model, put it in the wind tunnel test at all different angles. You can see the actual model that we have here. And they tested that, and there's a lot of data here with all the criteria for how they do that. They are the experts on this. We've worked with them many times. And this diagram is probably the best to look at that's on the screen right now. But basically, you don't want red or the orange color on there. If you have anything less than that, and you can see we mostly have the green, a little bit of blue, and a little bit of yellow, those are all comfortable pedestrian conditions at the street. Basically, in the wind engineer conclusion, you can see there, it says that, that the wind conditions are generally comfortable for sitting and standing on an annual basis. So all times a year, the contention is that this building does not have any adverse effect on creating a wind tunnel effect or anything like that, and creating uncomfortable conditions on the street. We also, while we were at it, we decided to study the pool, the open amenity space on the pool deck as well. And you can see it's still very, very comfortable up there as well.
So the next few slides should be current renderings. And if you would, just walk the commission very briefly through some of the notable design elements here with respect to massing.
Sure. So this is the view from the south looking to the north. You can see the guest tower pushed all the way to the north. You can see the base of the building, very distinct base from the tower itself. You can see that the open amenity space at the pool level and the pool bar level will be nicely landscaped. You can see below that, you can see the entrance to the hotel with a portico share, tall ceilings, a lot of light and glow that happens with the activity around this kind of hotel. Marching around to the Fayetteville Street side, looking north, Fayetteville runs up to the right there. You can see the two-story looking building that is the sports bar anchoring the corner with the pre-functioning ballroom space stacked above that for the base of the building, and then the guest room tower above that. And then we looked at this earlier. This is the Fayetteville Street that's being transformed into the streetscape we have here. What's really cool is that the two-story element that you see there that's sort of cantilevered out from the building, once again, to create that architectural character and just something different to create that sense of base. It's going to be a really cool space. That's all pre-function for the ballrooms. And what's really interesting is that little slot you see between that two-story element that's floating there in the tower. That's the end of the pre-function that you literally can look right up Fayetteville Street from there. So it's going to be kind of cool, great views from inside. And when you're in Fayetteville looking down, you can see all the light and activity happening in the pre-function there.
This one works too, either one. I was going to say, talk a little bit, if you would, about the design choices along Lenore Street. Yeah, so Lenore, that's obviously, as I mentioned, that's our most challenging street, and this is it here. So this is the depiction I told you we'd look at for that sort of blank canvas of the wall that's going to have the public art. This is an idea. This is not the solution, but the idea it would have some significant art element that happens there three-dimensionally around that corner, anchoring that corner. Then once you move to the left of that, that's when we start getting into the required service that we have to have somewhere, and Lenore was the right place to do it, and because Fayetteville needed to be totally active, which it is. South Street, it really wants to connect to the part to the south, so we add the landscaping and have the big bar element there, and then the entry element on Salisbury, where the portico share and the hotel entry is. That's why Lenore is what it is. But you can see that in the middle, it's sort of that's where the loading bays are, but those will be controlled with doors that come down operationally and control that. And then we have the vertical line that you see kind of going up and down the building there. Once again, it's just another idea to break the massing up. That's where required elevators are that go up and down the building from the service area all the way up and serve every floor of the building. And then on the left-hand side, we've got glass over there, but some of it is spandrel glass, like we talked about some of the back-of-house elements, but it's still glass.
How about the architectural elements that distinguish the base from the tower?
Yeah, so on this side where the tower is in line with the plane of the tower below, you can see at the 5th floor where there is vision glass, there is transparency. We've pushed that glass in intentionally to create exposed columns there so that we do, everywhere else on all the other sides, the base is very distinct. Here, we're creating that distinction with that recess in the glass and having the columns exposed there.
Okay, Rob, in your expert opinion, does the requested design alternate, is it consistent with the intent of the building massing regulations?
Yes.
And in your expert opinion, does the requested alternate use an architectural base distinguishable from the building above that enhances the pedestrian environment through a change in material, fenestration, ornamentation, rhythm, or other sculpting of the base?
Yes.
And in your expert opinion, does the requested design alternate propose a building setback behind the sidewalk in lieu of a required step back, resulting in open space that includes pedestrian amenities such as seating areas, trees, and landscaping or outdoor dining?
Yes.
And in your expert opinion, does the building use other architectural treatments to mitigate wind impacts, increase light at the pedestrian level, and visually reduce the scale of the building?
Yes.
And finally, in your expert opinion, does the requested design alternate, the building, will it not cause undue shadow impacts on public spaces, amenity areas, and surrounding streets?
It will not.
On that last point, can you talk very briefly about Licton Plaza and Martin Marietta Center and how the design impacts that existing open space?
Yeah, well, fortunately, that is to the south of us, so we all know the solar orientation is great. There are no shadows that are going to impact that space at all. And then as far as the wind goes, we saw that the least amount of wind impact was on that side, and that's, as I mentioned before, we're pushing the taller mass of the building away from that park. So this park is it's an integral part of why we positioned the hotel the way we did, and it's going to be part of that whole entry experience, and the park will not have any negative. In fact, I think it'll be enhanced.
Thank you, Rob.
Yep.
Commissioners, do you have any questions for Mr. Rule on the building massing elements here?
I had one question. Was there an analysis done on the glare potentially from just the sun on all sides of the building? You got a lot of pedestrian traffic and just regular traffic. I know that really doesn't really deal much with the massing, but as I was looking, I was just curious.
I would say there's not been a specific study for glare, but the glass that we're using on the building, I would say it doesn't have a lot of glare inherently. It's a glass that's a pretty deep glass, meaning it absorbs light pretty well. And it's not mirrored glass by any means. So, I don't think we're going to have a glare problem, but that is an opinion. I don't know exactly.
Thank you.
If I remember correctly, there are some reflectance percentages back in the transparency section.
That's right.
I'm not sure if that's...
We're 14% reflective on the lower glass and 28 above. That's very typical for a hotel. You don't want a completely clear glass hotel for obvious reasons. That's not very comfortable for people, but so it has a little bit of reflectance, but it's not mirrored glass by any means.
And so even though the recombination isn't finalized yet, you still had to consider Fayetteville Street for setback or step back condition?
Yes. Yeah.
So it wasn't in play for the amenity space, but it is in play for that?
I'm not sure what you mean by in play.
Well, I guess when you're talking about the amenity space back on the first point,
Yeah.
you couldn't count that space along there.
Technically, we can't. Does it function that way?
Right.
It really does, but we technically can't because the way negotiating with the city to get Fayetteville Street designed to be that vehicle corridor now, it pushes the right-of-way right up to our face of our building.
So it's a right-of-way issue.
Yeah,
I got you.
it's a right-of-way
Okay.
issue.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Mr. Rule on building massing?
Do not think so.
What's that? No?
No, sir.
All right.
All right, Rob is done for the moment. We are moving on to our blocks, lots, and access request, and we are seeking relief from UDO Section 8.3.5.A3 regarding forward motion for all vehicles. So, David, on his way here, we'll move the. So, if you'll let the commission know your name and address, and then you'll get sworn in here.
Yes. Good afternoon. My name is David Lastly, principal at Piedmont Land Design, address 8522 Six Forks Road here in Raleigh.
In your relation to the case? In your relation to the case?
I am the lead project land planner and project manager working for Omni through the architect RJTR.
And do you swear or affirm that the testimony you will provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, thank you.
Thank
you. David, I think you just said it, but say it again. What's your current position and title at PLD?
I am principal of the firm, and for this particular project, I'm the lead land planner and project manager.
If you would, tell the commission a little bit about your educational background.
Okay, I'm a graduate, a 1983 graduate, Kansas State University in architectural engineering. I came straight from college to Raleigh, North Carolina. It's a long story, but fun one. But started my career with Envirotech. Envirotech was an architectural firm here in the city. We did architecture, landscape architecture, land planning, and civil engineering. I was there for 17 years, left as the executive vice president of Envirotech, started my own firm, Piedmont Land Design, in January of 2000, and have been employed there ever since.
If you were to say you have a current specialty, what would that be?
We've done everything, it seems like, but our specialty is large multifamily, residential, and commercial properties. Some of the projects that you may recognize around town, Glen Lake Office Park, MetLife campus in Cary, John Deere's world headquarters in Cary, Imperial Center with some of our earlier projects out in RTP, as well as the second phase of the Highwoods Office Park, Wade Park, the office buildings, all associated with that. So we have a lot of experience, have done literally over 1,000 projects in this area and have provided expert testimony for dozens of projects throughout the years.
And what work have you provided on this particular project?
On this particular project, my partner Mike Snyder and I are we're providing the civil engineering, the land planning, and this would include also the utilities, stormwater design for the facility.
Do you consider yourself an expert in the field of land planning and civil engineering?
Absolutely.
Mr. Chairman, at this time, I would tender David Lastly as an expert in civil engineering and land planning.
Thank you.
Before we start with David, I'm going to have Brady and Zach come up. They are not expert witnesses. These are fact witnesses for Omni, but I'm going to have you swear them in now because they may have some contributions here shortly. So if each of you will state your name, who you work for, and then you'll get sworn in.
Zach Cook with Omni Hotels out of Dallas, Texas.
And your address, please.
Address.
4001 Maple Hall Avenue.
Brady Nix with Omni, 4001 Maple Avenue, Dallas, Texas.
All right, thank you. And do you both swear or affirm that the testimony you will provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. All right. Come on, computer.
Locked up. There we go.
Not too far. Okay, David, we're looking at slide 46 here. If you would describe for the commission what we're looking at on this page.
Right. What we have here, this is really the footprint of the building on the site. This particular design alternate is dealing with our access to our loading dock area and to our trash pickup areas. And I don't have a pointer here, but I can point over to here that, well, I guess I won't. The dark blue represents the movement of the trash facilities and the trash vehicles that would come in. Lenore is a 3-lane roadway. We have the north side is a westbound lane. The south side is a eastbound lane, and we have a center turn lane that provides left turns onto South Salisbury and also left turns onto Fayetteville Street. So the trash vehicle would be coming in and hugging the westbound lane and then backing up to an area that's internal in the building to be able to pick up and We have a compactor. You'd be able to load that compactor and be able to get back out onto Lenore Street. We're here for this design alternate because he actually has to back the vehicle in the right-of-way into the building. The requirement of this particular code section requires us to have forward movements into parking areas with vehicles. And as most loading areas downtown, that doesn't occur because because of the constraints of the sites and the operation of these vehicles. Switching from the dark blue to the light blue is actually the route that vehicles making deliveries, such as we have a semi-tractor trailer loading dock, and then we have a couple other loading docks for cargo trucks. And those are to receive deliveries that will be coming through occasionally during the week to deliver materials and stuff to the hotel. Every building has to have kind of an ugly side, and this is kind of the ugly side on this one. Although it's screened, it still has to facilitate the facilities that are necessary to support the operation of the hotel. And with another hotel being to our west, with the Performing Arts Center to the south, and with our Fayetteville Street streetscape to the east, Lenore seems to be the best location for these facilities and that side of the operations of the building.
I think that's a good segue. Zach, you want to come up and tell the commission a little bit about how loading dock operations occur at a hotel like this?
Yep. To give you a little background, last two projects I've done were Oklahoma City and Tempe, Arizona. I was on site doing the construction for them. After Oklahoma City, I actually stayed behind and worked in the hotel for about 8 months in the engineering department. So I got to witness these kinds of things firsthand. Here, what we have to help with pedestrian safety, guest safety, is a 24/7 security office located at the loading dock. And then we also always have 24/7 engineering team on site. So those guys are always there to help with deliveries, to help with vehicles turning in, turning out. And then we also have director of procurement and dock manager there during operating hours. So at all times we're receiving deliveries, it is, I would say, at least 2 to 5 people there to assist with flagging traffic and backing trucks in.
I'm going to let Zach sit unless any commissioners have questions about Omni operations with respect to the loading docks.
I don't think we have any. Thank you.
Thank you, Zach.
Yeah.
David, in your expert opinion, is this requested design alternate, is it consistent with the intent of sections 8.3.2, 8.3.4, and 8.3.5 of the UDO?
Yes, with the caveat with what testimony you've received from Zach on them providing the on-site support to maintain safety for the public in this operation.
And that flows into the second question. Does the design alternate, in your expert opinion, increase congestion or compromise safety?
No, it does not.
And in your expert opinion, will the design alternate conflict with an approved or built roadway construction project adjacent to or in the vicinity of the site?
On this site, there is no approved or built roadway construction project adjacent to or in the vicinity of the site, so therefore no conflict will exist.
And finally, David, in your expert opinion, is the design alternate as requested reasonable due to one or more of the following? 1, given the existing physical environment, compliance is not physically feasible. 2, compliance would not meaningfully improve connectivity. 3, compliance is not compatible with adjacent uses. Or 4, the burden of compliance is not reasonable given the size of the site or the intensity of the development.
Yeah, the first three items are really not applicable to this particular site, but the fourth one, the burden of the compliance is not reasonable given the size of the site, the intensity of the development, that is appropriate in this particular situation. As previously mentioned, the site's only 1.06 acres. It's bound by constraints that can't be changed. That is the lot size. The city has established a program for a hotel here that we're squeezing every square foot we can just to get what we and what they want on this particular site. With the limited frontage and given the size restrictions, it does not allow for a turnaround dock space within the building footprint, as well as all the necessary program required spaces at street level. And I think Rob also mentioned to you all the street level items that we have that are also required to maintain this hotel. There are items like the fire command center, the fire pump room, vertical circulation, the hotel lobby, cafe, sports bar, and required back of the house spaces. Also, the frequency of which trucks would be backing into Lenore Street is low. It would not be an all-day event. For the trash truck, Republic Services will be maintaining the trash pickup at this facility. They've confirmed that their truck will only come twice a week. The loading dock and truck will only have visits to the site as needed. These truck visits are required for the proposed use and intensity of the hotel building, and the truck docks are required for full hotel operations. So based on this and given the size of the site, I would agree that this is a reasonable location and operation for this facility to get the trucks in and out of the site.
In your opinion, is this configuration typical for a downtown development of this size?
Yes, it is, and I think you'll see, and you're probably aware, even the BB&T on South Salisbury, they have a loading area very similar to this, as does the PNC Plaza, and the Marriott. They have a facility. It's unclear to me whether they're able to drive through, take down bollards and drive through, or whether they also have be able to pull in and back out on their loading facilities.
Thank you, David. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Mr. Lasley with respect to this loading area?
Yeah, I've got a couple. So to the left of the blue zone, it looks like there's a couple other bays there. Are those for box trucks to back in?
Well, unfortunately, this has kind of been put on the building footprint. Those circles that you see there are actually column lines indicating the different column lines. They look like trees, but they're not trees or anything. They're just, I take it that's what you're...
I'm just looking. So there's the 18-wheeler bay. It looks like an 18-wheeler can back all the way into the building. To the left of that, there appear to be two other bays.
Oh, yeah,
those
are box trucks. Yeah, those would be box trucks.
For box.
Yeah.
So the box trucks can
Yeah.
back all the way into...
Yeah, in this particular case, the 18-wheeler, the semi is our critical path item because it's the largest truck that we'd be bringing in.
Yeah, so does the trash truck, does that back into the building, or how far out does that sit from the face of the building?
He actually backs up to pick up the compactor and load it onto the flatbed and then pulls that back out.
And so how far out does that sit when it is doing that operation from the face of the
He would be
building?
contained within the building footprint itself when he's loading that on.
So he's actually
Yes.
backing into the
That's
building?
Correct. That's correct. He wouldn't be sitting out in the roadway.
Okay. And then I'm sure there's a reason, but I guess the trash truck needs to come from the east on the westbound lane. It can't really come from the west.
You know
on the
what?
eastbound lane.
We don't try to really tell, like Republic, their operators how they come in and come out. But what we do have is, as Zach had mentioned, a dock manager and site engineers on the site to help direct them and promote the safety, or safe movement of those vehicles into the site. I agree with you. If it's possible that he could come west or eastbound and get in that way, he's still backing in to the travelway,
Yeah,
but not having to cross 2 lanes.
right. Okay, that was it.
We're trying to take a worst case scenario here and apply that and present that to you. If it can get better, that's an improvement.
Then just a clarification on the trash service. You said 2 pickups a week. It sounds like they're taking the compactor off-site and delivering a clean one or empty one. Is that 2 different trips, or is it done in the same?
It's usually
visit?
2 different
Okay,
trips
so 4.
because there's nowhere to
So
yeah,
probably
drop the other one off.
4 access
Yeah,
points throughout the week for that then?
correct.
Any other questions? I think we're good.
Great. Thank you for your
Thank you.
time.
Thank you.
Commissioners, our next request relates to street cross-sections. We're seeking relief from UDO Section 8.5.9.A, B, and C. I'm going to ask Eric Antrim to come up, be sworn, and then I'll offer him up as an expert.
Can you please state your name, address in relation to the case for the record?
My name is Eric Antrim with Talley Associates at 3301 Elm Street in Dallas, Texas. We are the landscape architects working for this project.
And do you swear or affirm that the testimony you will provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Eric, if you would, state your current position and title with Talley.
Currently, I'm associate principal with Talley Associates and senior project manager for this particular project.
And tell the commissioners a little about your educational background, if you would.
Okay. Graduated from Kansas State University in 1998. Moved to Dallas upon graduation. Worked at a larger landscape architecture firm for about 10 years. Another 2 years at a high-end residential estate planning type firm. And I've currently been with Talley Associates for about 13, 14 years now.
What is your current specialty?
I do a wide variety of project types, but particularly a lot of urban design, mixed-use developments for condominiums, hotels, and even senior living projects.
And what have you done specifically for this project?
For this project, we've worked in tandem with the architects and civil engineers for streetscape design, and then also the amenity deck pool area on level 5.
Do you consider yourself an expert in the field of landscape design and engineering?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, at this time, I'd tender Eric as an expert in the field of landscape design and engineering.
Thank you.
All right. Eric, if you would, tell the commissioners what we're looking at here on slide 49.
This is the existing site condition showing a 8-foot wide public sidewalk highlighted in the yellow zone there along Lenore Street, and then a green planting area adjacent to the parking lot to the south of Lenore Street.
What's the existing sidewalk width?
8 foot.
What's the total width with the planters?
I believe that to be about 13 or 14 feet.
And looking here at slide, what's numbered 43, what are we looking at here?
This is the proposed design for the project. Again, the yellow zone is the highlighted sidewalk area. Particularly here, based on the existing curb alignment of Lenore Street and the building setback line, indicates we have approximately 11 to 12 feet of space to work within.
Why are we focusing only on Lenore?
In this particular design guideline, it's intended to have a 10-foot wide sidewalk plus a 6-foot wide planting zone dedicated along that side.
Is that unique to Lenore Street?
Yes, yes,
Is the design compliant on all other sides?
yes.
To your prettier drawing here.
Okay.
All right, if you would, describe for the commissioners what we are proposing to build.
Okay. So along Lenore Street, we're following the guidelines for materials, indicating brick paving areas or fields at the corners, brick band paving adjacent to the back of curb, street trees at 40 foot on center with 4 foot by 6 foot tree grates. Then the remainder of, and also brick banding that is in alignment with those tree grates. And then the remainder of the field paving would be a concrete surface with the 2 foot or 24-inch square scoring design as indicated by the city. As has been noted before, this is a heavily service side of the project. You can see kind of the white zone there in the middle is the width of drive approach for the different bays into the building. Those zones also include some great walking flush with the concrete paving that allows air circulation for below grade parking, generators, transformers, things like that that are positioned in the basement level below. There's a lot of utilities coming into the building along that particular side.
What sidewalk width will be provided when the project's complete?
We are providing the minimum, or at least the minimum and greater to the 10-foot dimension that's required. We're providing the what is available between the building edge and the existing curb alignment, which varies between 11 and 12 feet.
So is it that compliance is impossible because of the landscaping strip requirement?
Correct, yeah. We don't have enough space for that extra 6 feet of landscape planting. To achieve something like that might require pushing outward with the curb, which then would impede lanes on the street. We certainly don't want to impede traffic along there. We've supplied a nice, ample, spacious walkway for pedestrians, no extra impediments than is necessary beyond street trees and street lights along the back of curb there. So with the street lighting, it'll be safely lit at night for pedestrians.
And the 4 trees that are shown on this drawing, they will be installed along Lenore?
Correct.
Do you know what species those will be?
Those are willow oaks.
Willow oaks. Are the darker green or the more teal green, are those different types of trees along Fayetteville?
Yes, along Fayetteville, we'll be using an overcup oak. The other 3 sides of the property are all using the willow oak.
Do you recall if any of the sites adjacent to the project site have the 6-foot landscaping strip that is required?
I believe where you see that occur is probably 3 blocks to the west and 2 blocks to the east. Where it gets more into the residential zone outside of kind of the CBD.
So I've got one stormwater question here that I'll bring David back up to ask. I'm going to ask Eric the remaining questions now, and then I'll bring David up to ask that one last stormwater question. So Eric, in your expert opinion, is the design alternate that we've proposed here, is that consistent with the intent of Article 8.5?
Yes.
And in your expert opinion, does the requested design alternate increase congestion or compromise safety?
No, it does not impede or cause any congestion or safety.
And in your expert opinion, does the requested design alternate create any additional maintenance responsibilities for the city?
No, these are all standard materials found throughout the streetscapes within the city as required by the city.
And is it true that the requested design alternate has been designed and certified by a professional engineer?
Yes.
And in your expert opinion, will the design alternate as requested be reasonable because of one or more of the following? One, given the physical environment, including but not limited to following, compliance is not physically feasible. A, an existing building would impede roadway, or B, transitioning from a different street section, or two, the burden of compliance is not reasonable given the size of the site or the intensity of the development.
Yes. I think the alternative to create that extra space for the 6-foot planting zone would require impeding traffic going into a lane of traffic there on Lenore to make that happen.
And do you think compliance is reasonable given the size of the site?
Yes.
David, if you'd step up here very briefly. In your expert opinion, will the requested design adversely impact stormwater collection and conveyance at the site?
It will not, and let me elaborate on that, because what we have is we have an existing sidewalk system out there right now. We actually will be reducing the runoff from that streetscape, and the reason is because on our Southwest Street, or West South Street, and Salisbury frontages, we have overhangs on the building that come out and actually encroach into the right-of-way, taking away that stormwater that today is landing on the sidewalk area. We're collecting that in the building's stormwater system, which gets collected, treated, and retained. So we actually will have a less of an impact than what there is today on the stormwater system.
Would you briefly describe the building's stormwater collection system?
The building stormwater system, we understand we have a stormwater system for the building, and we have a stormwater system for Fayetteville Street. And the stormwater system for the building comes in, collects from the roof areas of the building, goes into an underground system that's located in the right-of-way of Fayetteville Street. And it comes into a device that actually filters the water for nitrogen removal. Then it goes into a detention system, and then goes into the city stormwater system at its low point, which is located at the intersection of Fayetteville Street and West South Street. Fayetteville Street itself has another collection system where we have inlets along Fayetteville Street. It's a public street, and we collect that stormwater. It's getting treated through Silva cells, which are, we have special devices with the tree wells in Fayetteville. We're collecting that for nitrogen, for quality control. Then that's going into an underground detention system to control quantity, and then it goes into the city's stormwater system, at the same location.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Commissioners, do you have any questions for Eric or David about the landscaping design or the stormwater elements of this project?
I have a question for Eric. So I'm trying to think, you mentioned that the planting area doesn't happen along South Street or Lenore Street. So I'm trying to think the hotel just to the west of the site, that doesn't have that planting area?
Don't believe so.
Or the parking deck to the west of that?
I think they only have street trees
Okay.
in tree grates.
And do you know how the facade or the face of that hotel lines up with your project? Are they about in line? Doesn't look like there's any drawings that actually show the outline of that building.
Yeah, that I don't know.
Easy way to go back to the aerial, where I have those photos, without scrolling all the way back. Can I just go to a number?
Yeah,
There we
yeah.
go. There we go. Now we're cooking. See if we can answer your questions here, Commissioner
Oh, yeah.
Roberts.
From your walkthrough?
Yeah. So, there is westbound on Lenore.
Yeah.
And obviously here, we're talking about a requirement for Lenore Street specifically. This landscape buffer is required along Lenore. I think what you might be remembering is
To the
this-
right.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
is
just
this
curious.
buffer in front of the Residence Inn? Is that what you're talking about?
Well, you can't really see it from that last image. I'm just wondering, as you go down Lenore Street, does that hotel have any of those planting areas along it? But I can't really tell from these photos.
Yeah, without being able to get to Google Maps, Eric and I looked at it yesterday, and I think Eric can confirm that it does not. It has
Okay.
Yeah, I
trees.
think it was just street trees and tree wells.
Okay. Do you have any drawings that show the relationship of the face of that hotel to your project? I'm just curious how far that facade is set off the street.
I don't believe so. I don't know if Rob has any of those drawings.
Okay.
Help me understand what you're
Well, I
asking.
mean, we're trying to justify not having a 16-foot section here. And if there's something that can help us make that justification, like the project adjacent to it also doesn't meet that, and it aligns or closely aligns with the facade of your project, that would help.
So this is the Marriott here.
Yep.
You mean the sidewalk width there and the appearance of that facade?
Well,
along
just
Lenore?
just how the facade of I think is it a Residence Inn? Yeah, how the facade of the Residence Inn is going to align with the face of your project. So when you're looking down the street, are they in alignment with each other, or does the Residence Inn facade set back another 4 feet because it does meet that 16-foot? I mean, it's built under a different time, probably under a different UDO.
I think this rendering here helps. It might not answer your question completely, but knowing what the Residence Inn looks like and what this rendering looks like, I think you might be able to get close to an answer to your question.
Okay. When we were talking about the step back, I was going to ask if you guys had considered a setback, but seeing this, I guess not.
I think that the short version, Commissioner, is we've got a really big project on a really small site.
Okay.
And I think these professionals have done the best they could to get as much for the city as they could on what amounts to a very small site.
Okay. That's it for me.
Any other questions?
Nope. Okay, thank you, Eric. Thank you, David. Just a moment here to get back to where we left off. One more request here. All right, our final request, Commissioners, is for relief from the Street Design Manual, Section 9.5.2 C and F, if I can read my own handwriting correctly. And it relates to spacing of driveways. And Commissioners, I think you hear this request fairly frequently, especially for downtown projects. There we go. Thank you. So for this section, my expert is Nate Boquin with McAdams. Nate, if you'll introduce yourself to the commissioners and be sworn.
Yeah. Good evening. My name is Nate Boquin, traffic engineering lead with McAdams. Address is 621 Hillsborough Street in Raleigh.
And do you swear or affirm that the testimony you will provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Nate, would you tell the commissioners a little bit about your educational background?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a bachelor's of civil engineering from NC State University, graduated in 2016. Actually before graduating, I started working with a local transportation engineering firm. Started with them in 2015, worked there until 2022, ultimately became a project manager with them in their traffic engineering group. In 2022, I joined McAdams as their traffic engineering lead.
What is your current specialty? What does traffic engineering lead mean?
Yeah, so for us, it's really all things traffic analysis as well as traffic signal design is kind of our specialties. Myself in particular have a strong focus on traffic analyses, TIAs, and other such studies for projects, whether it be public or private, being constructed. I have a professional, I'm a licensed professional engineer here in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Texas. So I do studies all throughout the Southeast here with a strong focus here in the Triangle area.
And what work have you performed specifically on this project?
So to date, it has been focused on the traffic analysis piece. Although a TIA has not been required, we did prepare a traffic analysis associated with the request here today, looking at the operations surrounding the site. And then ultimately, we will also be providing a signal design associated with the extension of Fayetteville Street and the signal modifications associated with that.
Nate, do you consider yourself an expert in traffic engineering?
I do.
Mr. Chairman, at this time, I'd offer Nate Boquin as an expert witness in traffic engineering.
Thank you.
All right, Nate, what are we looking at here on slide 54?
All right, so this is the existing conditions of the site. So this is currently a surface parking lot. The bottom, I guess, a southwest corner here of the site is the current ingress driveway for entering vehicles. And then the northwest quadrant of the parcel is the egress where vehicles exit currently.
And those ingresses and egresses, how far are they from the existing curbs, the existing corners, I'm sorry?
Yeah, so the ingress driveway is, I believe it's 33 feet from South Street.
No, that can't be.
Is that?
How far is that entrance from corner of South and South Salisbury?
We have that on the figure.
No numbers on there. Let's see if we can get back to a better, something that has some numbers on it for you.
Go to the,
Get back to the, where I could see all the slides at once.
is that what you're trying to?
There we go, that'll help you.
Yeah, so like I said, 33 feet from the center line to the edge of South Street for the current driveway.
Good. And how about the current driveway to the north on Lenore?
The egress, I believe it's roughly the same. I don't have the exact measurement for that one in front of me. But it would be essentially the same, but from Lenore.
So here on slide 55, what are we looking at?
So this is the proposed condition. So the ingress driveway, we're proposing to keep that in the same location. Ingress driveway, we are shifting that south, essentially to be in mid-block location. The big goal there, trying to separate that driveway from the signal to our north at Lenore Street, trying to eliminate the conflicts that signal presents and allow that driveway to operate independently there.
And how far apart will those two driveways be?
The two driveways themselves will be approximately 83 feet apart. And then, again, the southern driveway, the ingress driveway, will be about 33 feet, maintaining the current location.
And how far apart does the design manual require?
It requires 50 feet for that southern driveway, spaced from South Street, and then 200 feet spacing between those driveways.
And that's center lines?
That's correct.
And could you provide the 200 feet on this site, even if you wanted to?
We could not. Our current frontage of Salisbury Street is 210 feet. So we're, as was mentioned earlier, it's a small site. So we're very constrained with the grid network of downtown.
Is there anything else about the design of the ingress and egress here that you'd like to point out to the commissioners?
Yeah, so it's a unique situation with Salisbury Street being a one-way street. Oftentimes when we're looking at the intersection spacing, we have to worry about lefts entering and exiting the driveway, rights entering and exiting the driveway. And the big concern with, in particular, the proximity of two driveways is the potential for those crossover of those movements. With the one-way nature, both of Salisbury Street as well as our internal circulation, we don't have the same quantity of conflict points that we would typically see. All entering vehicles would be making that southbound left into the site, and all exiting vehicles would be making the left onto Salisbury, leaving the site. And so it's a little bit different of a situation than is typically the standard looks at throughout the board. The other parameter here is the downtown nature of the site. The same standard is used throughout the city. So in areas that might be a little bit more suburban or even rural, the same standard is enforced. With the site here being an urban context, driver expectations are different. Having additional driveways throughout that corridor meets the driver expectations when driving through there.
You mentioned a traffic analysis that you'd looked at. Tell us a little bit more about that and what it revealed to you.
Yep. So we prepared an analysis looking at the intersection of South Street and Salisbury Street, that signal there, as well as the two driveways, and wanted to see how they might interact together. One of the first things that we wanted to dive into a little bit more was the southbound left turn movement leaving Salisbury Street onto South Street, and kind of what those volumes are, just to get an idea of what we're looking at there. In the AM peak hour, that southbound left movement is 16 vehicles. Again, that's an AM peak hour, so that's spread throughout 60 minutes of the morning. In the PM peak hour, it's 68 vehicles, again, spread throughout the PM peak hour, so throughout that whole hour there. So altogether, that's a low volume for movement such as that. We then conducted an analysis as well as a simulation of that section of Salisbury Street to see how the driveways and the signal interact together. We found that Salisbury Street, under the future conditions with all of our site traffic added in, the signal was clearing every cycle, so we weren't having compounded queues occurring, which means that traffic exiting the Port Cochere has those opportunities between cycles to enter onto Salisbury Street and really pick whichever lane they need during those times. We also looked at what those maximum queues were. Maximum queues for the southbound left did not exceed, I believe it was 60 feet. And the maximum queue for that southbound through direction, I believe it hit 118 feet, which is 1 foot past our front edge of our driveway. So I would view that as a negligible impact there to that driveway operations, again, because it is the maximum queue as well as it's clearing every cycle. We also looked at Again, looking at the simulations of the site and how the operations would occur with that signal. And we found that there would be no impacts to delay queues or level service as part of this request.
Do you think it's safer moving that egress point further south on South Salisbury Street?
Yeah, getting that egress away from Lenore Street provides very significant benefits for safety. When you're making that left, leaving the driveway under the current conditions, when you're just south of Lenore Street, there are a lot of potential conflict points with folks traveling through that intersection that might not be looking for vehicles exiting that driveway, and also you might not know as an exiting vehicle to look behind your shoulder for a westbound left from Lenore Street to be turning onto Salisbury Street. So shifting that further south allows those drivers to have an additional opportunity to both while exiting the site be able to look over their shoulder to the right and actually see the approaching vehicles and vice versa.
Do you have any data about left turns onto South and whether that's a high-frequency use?
Yeah, I think I mentioned it earlier, but that southbound left under existing conditions was 16 a.m. peak hour trips and 68 p.m. peak hour trips.
That's just in that left lane?
Yes, just in that southbound left direction. And again, the big driver there is that provides essentially just localized connectivity. South Street doesn't provide significant regional connectivity, and so those southbound lefts are really just localized movements.
All right, thanks, Nate. I'm going to bring Zach back up here briefly to talk about how the portico share will operate and Omni's operations with respect to cars coming, guests arriving, and guests departing.
Yeah, so our hotel staff will work really close with surrounding properties and make sure we're checking when large events are happening, conferences, stuff like that. Our third-party valet company will work with our sales team to determine about how many cars they're going to have coming in the portico share for a certain event, and they will increase their associates by some sort of statistic that they run. So they know they're having, go ahead.
Is there any self-parking on the site?
No, it's all valet. It is open to the public, but it's all valet underneath the building. So we will increase our valet operations to try to get cars through there quicker and reduce the amount of cars that are sitting in Salisbury Street. One thing that we typically do that I've seen is our director of loss prevention, our director of security, one of the first things he does is becomes good friends with the police chief and the local police staff. So he works with them on safety, traffic safety, pedestrian safety. We've had some setups where if it's a very large event, they will assist us in flagging traffic or even giving us slip lanes where we can possibly use that left turn lane specifically for the hotel for a certain amount of hours. So there's a lot of things that we do to make sure that we're working with the city and with the surrounding properties to make sure that everyone's safe. And then always we encourage Uber and Lyft. So one thing that we could do on this property is we have a drop-off lane on Fayetteville Street. So if we have a large occupancy, we can try to direct some traffic over to Fayetteville Street as well.
How about bus arrivals? How will those be handled?
That's the same. We have a drop-off on Fayetteville Street, so those large buses and large groups getting dropped off won't even impact the portico share. They'll be on the Fayetteville Street side.
Will there be valet service on the Fayetteville Street side as well?
For bus drop-off, no. For large events, we'll shift valet over to the other side. Sometimes we'll utilize surrounding parking lots and deals that we work out with the city to, again, try to get as much traffic out of the portico share as possible.
All right. Nate, where'd you go? There you are. So, Commissioners, do you have any questions for Nate or Zach? Zach on operations of the portico share, or Nate on the design elements here?
How many cars do you anticipate using the, just kind of coming in and going out at the main hotel entrance?
On a daily basis, on a large conference?
Yeah, daily basis.
I don't have that kind of data. I guess it would depend on day of the week.
You feel like it's
time of
pretty
the year.
constant, or is there like some down? Are there constantly cars coming in and out, or is there?
No, it's not a constant flow of cars checking in and out. Obviously, we'll have large peak hours at 4 o'clock in the afternoon for check-ins and 11 o'clock in the morning for check-outs. And again, our valet always has an idea of how many cars they're expecting in a day, and they'll ramp up their associates according.
Is that 3-lane width any different than other Omni designs?
Yeah, so we have 3 lanes here. We have quite a few downtown properties that only have 2 lanes. And again, our Fort Worth, Texas property is a good example that they're right across from the convention center. When they have large events, cars can pile up in the street. They lean on local PD and increase their staff, and they do a very good job of keeping cars off the street, get them into the portico share, and ultimately into the valet.
This project will be able to contain more cars than the
Yeah, you
Fort
can
Worth
see
property.
here, I mean, you can fit 12 to 14 cars in there at once. I don't know how many cars you could stack up on Salisbury Street, but we should be able to get them in there fairly quickly.
More questions about the engineering design or Omni operations?
Could you quickly describe the movement to and out of the below-grade parking? I don't think that's been touched on.
Yeah, so you can see at the north end of the portico share, that's where you drive down. We have 3 levels of parking below the building. I can't remember the exact number, over 275 spots. So the valet will enter the car on the north side, and you can see at the bottom on West South Street, that's where they come up. So they come up within the portico share still, bring the cars around front, guests will enter, and then they exit onto Salisbury Street.
Thank you.
So for exit, will the valets be able to stack cars along that down ramp as well, if there's a large demand for exit?
It's all valet manned, so if they felt like they needed to, they most definitely could. Yeah,
And similarly, they could move cars and stack them along the entrance?
absolutely. Yep.
Any other questions, commissioners?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. So, Commissioners, at this time, I would ask that slides 1 through 56, the presentation you've received today, all be admitted into evidence.
Thank you.
And you've heard from all our experts. We have addressed all of the questions in each of the requested design alternates. And at this time, we'd request that the commissioners approve them all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We will now hear from other individuals wishing to provide factual testimony concerning the request. As a reminder, witnesses should provide factual testimony as to how the project does or does not meet the applicable standards. The commission must base its decision upon evidence in the record, not personal preference or opinion. Are there any members of the public wishing to speak to this case? Seeing none. Are there any questions from the commission, either for the applicant or for staff?
I have one quick one for Mensa. Mensa, I appreciate the comments you made when you came up and said how the city has been working with the applicant to get to the best possible outcome. So with regard to the driveway spacing that we just went over, that last issue, can you just comment if you've got any concerns about safety or how their design has satisfied safety conditions in your mind?
Certainly. Applicant expressed that they had planned to have 24/7 staff on site, not only for the loading on Lenore, but also for the valet parking on Salisbury. I think as long as that is a condition they're utilizing, I think what they're proposing can be a safe condition.
Okay, thanks. It seems like the fact that it's one-way makes it a much safer condition too, and they're entering on the southernmost part and exiting on the northernmost
Yes,
part.
it does make it a safer condition. Nate had expressed shifting the egress to mid-block so that there is, I guess, more distance between the egress and Lenore Street, better sight distance for vehicles exiting back onto Lenore, on Salisbury Street. So I do think that is a good condition for what they're proposing for the portico share.
Thank you. That was it.
Does anybody else have questions for staff? All right, thank you, Mensa. Are there anything further from the applicant on this?
No, sir, that's our presentation.
All right, thank you. Hearing no additional questions or presentation of relevant facts, the commission will now close the hearing and bring the matter to the table. As a reminder, this commission is tasked with deciding if, based on evidence presented, the proposal meets the applicable standards. This decision cannot be based on the personal preference of commission members. Rather, it is based on the standards and evidence. If based on its deliberations, the commission requires additional evidence, the commission will reopen the hearing. All right. Casey, could you take us back to some of the findings that we deliberate over? Thank you.
Is there a particular set of findings you want to start with?
Do we want to start at the beginning of the amenity area? I don't know if we have any.
I mean, I don't want to belabor anything here unnecessarily either. I mean, I think that was a very well thought out presentation, very well thought out comments and explanations behind all of these things. I don't know that I have a whole lot of questions or comments about any of these. I appreciate the comments or the inclusion of the public art piece on Lenore and Salisbury Street. I think some of the things, the way that we just look at the UDO and how you have to calculate certain things like transparency, I think they're meeting the intent on all of that. I appreciate the wind study and the shadow study. We don't typically get that the first time around, and I don't think we've ever seen a wind study done as comprehensively as this one was. I think the one that is sticking in my mind is the 16-foot streetscape versus the little over 11 feet that they gave, but it is a tight site. I think the condition along Lenore Street continues, as they mentioned, in either direction. Just because it's back of house, I wish there's more of a way to dress that up. But so it's the back of house. We're reducing the streetscape. There aren't any plantings other than the street trees, so it does become a little bit of a sticking point in my mind. But yeah, I don't know if anybody else has any thoughts about that, but you can't even like recess in building walls without screwing something up, egress stairs or where doorways are placed or doors down into the basement. I mean, it's tight back there.
Yep. Agreed.
And from the, the traffic comments from Mensa, yeah. Other than putting a condition on what they already stated about operations and having people there 24/7 for cars and loading and unloading, I don't think I've got any questions on any of these.
Does anybody else? All right.
Challenge.
I agree with the Lenore Street comments you've made. And I guess I didn't quite follow what some of the materiality was on that ground level elevation that could help, because it will be, kind of a pedestrian thoroughfare in certain downtown events. And granted, it is its function, and but I think in other cities, I've seen even the backside, the ugly side of the building dressed up when it's in this condition. And it is across from, a similar function on the building to the north. So But I guess maybe some just attention given to maybe some elevated materials on that facade, even the loading doors, perhaps.
I don't know who to ask from the city this question, but does the street design manual dictate the surface materials for the sidewalks, or is that left up to the designers?
Good afternoon. Kevin Kidd, engineering supervisor. Happy to help.
And do you swear or affirm that testimony you provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Mr. Chairman, are you reopening the public hearing to
Yes, I'm
receive this
sorry,
evidence?
we're reopening the hearing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
To answer your question, there are items in the street design manual that talk about material type. There are also individual streetscape plans within the city of Raleigh that are council adopted. This is in one of those areas where it does describe the materials we're supposed to use. So it's not one size fits all. Like in a neighborhood, you may see your standard concrete. Here, you may see more paver, something along those lines.
In that, or is there the option for multiple materials, or is this one of those streets where it's dictated exactly or prescribed?
So it's largely prescribed. The downtown master streetscape plan has different recommendations for different zones. And the review staff and the design staff have been collaborating on that routinely. But yeah, our downtown streetscape plan goes into more detail with those. Good.
Thank
All
you.
right.
I'm closing the hearing again for deliberations. All right. Don't know if that makes you feel any better or not. But second, Chris's statements on the clarity and thoroughness of the presentation is greatly appreciated. In addition to the light and wind study with, higher density development and taller structures, with the change in zoning recently, those are greatly appreciated by the commission as we review these cases and understand the impacts of what we're overviewing and looking at approving potentially and changing the overall look and feel of the city. So thank you very much for that. With that being said, does anybody want to make a motion approving?
Can we actually open it back up? Because I do appreciate Brooks' comments and wonder if they could walk us through the materials along that Lenore Street facade again.
Certainly. We'll reopen the hearing for the applicant to.
Thank you, Commissioners. I'll bring Rob back up here. Casey, can you help me get back to some of our renderings?
Yeah, can we turn to slide 43?
Let's see.
Or is that 43?
This is the wrong side.
But this is the one I'm looking for right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, 43.
That one or this one?
Next one.
This one.
Yep, that's it.
All right. And we're going to try to address the concern about sort of higher scale materials and differentiation on the sidewalk for what the walking experience will be like for a pedestrian along Lenore on our side of the street. We can't do anything about the other side of the street.
All right, so to answer your question in detail on Lenore Street here, we broke the facade down into thirds, okay? So closest to Salisbury Street on the right-hand side, that first third of the block, that's where the public art installation is. So you can see that, and that'll be very vibrant and really interesting. And you'll notice that we have broken the base down where there's this sort of frame that actually is the exact same proportion as the public art piece down below. So that will draw your eye upwards from that art piece up into the base, and that's that gray material there, the metal panels with glass set inside of that. That's actually framing the active space of the escalators that go up, and you'll see them crisscrossing up and down into the pre-function space up above. So very active looking corner there with the art at the base of that. Okay, so that very active and really upscale, everything's upscale materials there. Then moving to the left, the middle part of the block, that's where the lower floor there is the surface area. You'll see it's very dark in the view there. That's all dark material that would, it's not stone, but it'll be stone-like, out of precast that's made to look like stone, and then dark metal panels for the roll-down doors. The idea there is that we're sort of making that third of the block there darker than the brightness of what's happening at the Salisbury side, and then what's happening over there at the Fayetteville side, where it's very open at the Fayetteville corner with the cafe, a lot of clear glass there, and then you've got this line of the precast from the tower with texture coming down to the ground, which draws your eye from the brightness of the corner there at Fayetteville Street and then up the full vertical height. There's a lot of variety in the way your eye moves as it goes across that facade, very intentionally drawing your line up in that vertical line before you get to that middle part of the block where it's all dark. We also just made this decision to make that very dark there because if you look on the other side of the street, which is sort of, I think someone said the ugly side of the building for Marriott, it's all very light and almost, it's kind of cold concrete feeling. We didn't want to do that. We wanted to make this feel rich and more darker. And frankly, being all dark and sort of ganging all that darkness at the service area together, yeah, I think it accentuates the urban experience of walking along that block and having the brightness and the activity at the ends be more interesting. So does that make sense to answer your question?
I appreciate that extra
Okay.
explanation. Thank
Yeah.
you.
But we definitely, I mean, we went, had a lot of thought that went into that, this facade, all the facades, actually.
While we're reopened, any other questions about streetscape or design elements?
No further. Thank you.
Thank you.
Closing the hearing again.
I also appreciate they've got the space to pull trucks all the way into the building and not have them hang over the sidewalks like a lot of other projects we've seen downtown. So. I mean, we can continue to have discussion, but I'll make a motion to approve all of the requests with the condition set that that staff are there 24/7 to help with cars at the Port Cachere, loading and unloading, loading docks, et cetera.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Do we want to
Mr. Chairman, before you vote, there are different findings that have to be made
Yeah.
for certain of these, and it would be prudent for your record to reflect that you've considered the evidence and whether the project meets those findings. So not wanting to make you do multiple motions, but there's not equipoise amongst the findings. And you do need to make those findings.
Okay. And I guess we do need to go one by one.
All right. Well, I've been sitting here trying to figure out, there are 14 requests,
Yeah.
but they're really grouped in, I guess, 7 different groupings. And so
Right.
I tried to put which ones went with which ones. I'm not sure I've been successful, but I did try, if that would be helpful to you. And maybe someone can correct me if I have misperceived where they go. But your first section is the outdoor amenity area, and there are 3 distinct findings that you need to make with regard to that. And I believe that would be the alternate request number 1, and only 1. And then I believe that on transparency, the transparency section picks up 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Is that right?
Yes.
Casey, could you flip to the findings for the outdoor amenity,
Yeah,
please?
if we just put them
Thank
up there for you, I think it'd be fairly quick for you to go through, but there could be no question that you considered the differences.
So on this one, for me, it's less about the outdoor amenity space that's moved up to the 5th floor. It's more about the space down on the ground floor that they can't count towards it because of the recombination and the right-of-way. I mean, if you consider that space, they've got a lot more than they would need. And I don't think that, I think that all of these findings are met.
I agree.
Agreed.
Do we need a vote for that motion first?
Yeah, that would be your first motion, that the three findings that are required to provide the alternate, design alternate from sections 1.5.3 and 3.2.6 are met. The three findings being that it meets the intent of the outdoor amenity areas, the approved alternate provides usable outdoor space, it doesn't hinder pedestrian comfort or safety, and the approved alternate uses landscaping, seating, GIS, or other features, and is clearly accessible for users. And that would, I think, be the content of the motion that you're articulating.
Thank you. Can I just say so moved?
Certainly.
Thank you.
Certainly you can, as opposed to you reading all of that yourself.
Yeah.
All those voting in favor for the
Need a
outdoor?
second on that one.
Oh, sorry.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing none. All right, next one, please, Casey.
Again, unless I have missed something, and I may have, but I think this particular one goes to request 2 through 7.
Yep, that's right.
I think some of the architects on the panel have maybe taken some issue with the requirement for the 80% transparency on the glass, and
Yeah.
but I don't think I saw anything that was presented under this section that gave me considerable heartburn. There was plenty of architectural articulation made to, if not provide the transparency, provide enough visual differentiation to provide character at the street level. And then at level 5, I believe, where they're not providing the required sound reasoning was provided for that. I don't see any reason not to approve these as presented.
Yep, I would agree with all of that. I think the toughest one is that Lenore Street, but using different materials and articulation, I think meets the second finding. Some of the other spaces, like the porte cochere, that they can't count towards transparency, but it really is, it's doing the same thing as what we want transparency to do, which is liven up that street level.
Do we need a motion? Yes.
Do it, Kyle.
Am I allowed to do that as chair?
Yeah.
All right. I motion to approve these items under transparency, these 7 items as presented.
I second.
And would you include in your motion that your motion is based on the fact that the approved alternative is consistent with the intent of the transparency regulations and the street-facing building facades, utilizes other architectural, artistic, or landscape treatments to create the visual interest to offset the reduction in transparency?
May I follow Commissioner Roberts' lead and say as stated?
So moved.
We're so moved. All right. All those in favor?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Opposed? None. Next one. Setback requirement on Salisbury, Fayetteville, and Lenore. Complete relief from the requirements there. I feel like they presented strong evidence with the shade study. Kind of showed that they're not inhibiting or creating conditions that are worse than the prescribed in the UDO. Finding 5 here. I don't know if anybody has any other points to add to this deliberation.
No, I mean, they walked us through the design for the base, distinguishable from the rest of it on number 2. Number 3, we've come up against some question on that, but it's a big if the approved alternate proposes a setback. which it doesn't, so we can't consider that one. And then, yeah, wind and solar study was nice. So I will move to approve the requests 8, 9, and 10. Per UDO section 3.3.3.d, that is consistent with the intent of the building massing regulations. The approved alternate uses an architectural base distinguishable from the building above and enhances the pedestrian environment through a change in material fenestration, ornamentation, rhythm, or other sculpting of the base. The building uses other architectural treatments to mitigate wind impacts, increase light at pedestrian level, and visually reduce the scale of the building, and does not cause undue shadow impacts on public space, amenity areas, and surrounding streets.
I'll second that.
Thanks.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none.
Anybody else want to take this one?
You're doing so
Come on,
great.
Kara.
You're doing so great. Just keep it going.
I mean, I appreciate the comments from Mensa and staff about how they've worked with the applicant and come to what we believe is the safest option for having just a lot of service area on that Lenore Street side. And have done what they could to get buildings all the way, or to get trucks and vehicles all the way into the building and not hanging out over the sidewalk. So I would move to approve request number 11 for relief of the requirement for vehicles to enter and exit parking areas in a forward motion as set forth in 8.3.5.8.3, I believe. Yeah. And meets the findings for the block slots and access UDO section 8.3.6. Can I just say as defined in the UDO, or do I have as defined in the UDO? Perfect.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none. Item 12, reducing the streetscape width along West Lenore.
All right, Brooke.
Not sure I know how to compose the whole message. Yeah, I think leaning on the testimony of all that was given, I don't see a way around it. The burden of compliance is reasonable for, or is not reasonable for this one among several of the applications. So I'm going to need help walking through the motion. Any other comments on this one from anyone else? No?
I said my piece earlier on this one.
So, motion to approve item number 12, I guess it is. According to, I lost it, 8.5.1, based on the findings presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none. That brings us to the last two items, 13 and 14, driveway spacing. Reducing the driveway spacing between the two proposed driveways on Salisbury Street and reducing the driveway to intersection spacing between the proposed driveway on South Saunders and the intersection of Salisbury and South. Driveway on South Salisbury
Mr. Chairman, that you had talked about a condition. If you desire to put a condition in, this is probably its home.
Yeah, I think we talked through all of these too. And the fact that staff kind of corroborated that it would not increase congestion or compromise safety.
It also helps it's a one-way street
It does, yeah.
and that the traffic and the valet will be taking the cars down. Now I'm in the street, but I'm below the buildings, so there won't be increasing congestion.
Any other comments on this one?
I think it's pretty contingent on the staff piece to work out, but to trust that that's going to continue in perpetuity, so.
I will make a motion to approve requests 13 and 14 to construct the 2 driveways onto Salisbury Street located 83.5 feet away from one another in lieu of the minimum 200-foot spacing per the design manual section 9.5.2, and to construct a driveway onto Salisbury Street located 33 feet away from the intersection of South Salisbury Street and West Street in lieu of the minimum 50-foot spacing required based on the findings that are in the UDO manual, with the condition that they provide 24/7 staff support for help loading and unloading cars and in the loading areas on Lenore Street.
I'll second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none. All right. The commission's written decision will be adopted when the minutes of this meeting are will be adopted when the minutes of this meeting are adopted, and the written decision will be provided to the applicant and other parties with a right to such notice following the adoption of the decision. All right. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Can we take a 5-minute break?
Yes.
Thank you all. You will be back to your normal council for the rest of your meeting, but it was nice to work with you.
Thank you. Thanks for your help. All right, 5 minutes.
You're back.
All right, we're going to take a quick 5-minute break, and we'll be back at 6:58.
Literally 5 minutes.
Okay, so quick housekeeping here. The meeting is now called back to order. I will say, commissioners, if you can, try to speak as clearly as possible, as loud and as you can into the microphone. From sitting in the audience, it is a little hard to hear out there. So if you could try to avoid whispering, that's helpful. And then just real quick, I know we have one recusal on the next case, but how are we doing on time? Does anyone have a hard stop point? We typically try not to start cases after 8 p.m., but we lose 1 to 2 more commissioners and we won't be able to continue. So just, is everyone okay for the time being? Okay.
Right.
Yes, and then a good reminder to presenters today, we've got 3 more cases on the docket this evening, so if you can move as judiciously as possible, still cover your material as appropriately, but we'll try and get through this evening so we don't need to delay anyone a month. So with that, I'll call Casey back up to present DA4, or Keegan up to present DA4 2025.
Yeah, Chair Gaskins, I need to recuse myself from this case. Our firm is designing the project.
Okay. I'll move to recuse Commissioner Roberts. Is there a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, thank you. Keegan? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you'll provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, please proceed.
So here to present DA for 2025. So this project is located at 3800 Barrett Drive. It's near the southeast corner of Six Forks Road and Barrett Drive in an office park, which has seen a little bit of redevelopment over the past several years. They are proposing an approximately 53,000 square foot medical office building on the site. There'll be 205 or so parking spaces. And the primary reason they're before you today is related to driveway spacing. So just to call back to that previous image, they're proposing 2 driveways on the site, and they're seeking relief from the driveway spacing requirement, both between the 2 proposed driveways and between the 2 proposed driveways and into an adjacent driveway to the north, which is sort of in a lighter shading to the plan left in this image. So the driveway spacing request, as you all are very familiar with, requires 200 feet of spacing for driveways accessing up to an 80-foot street right-of-way. And again, they have 3 separate requests for this particular project. Here are the standards coming from the street design manual. You can refer back to them later. And that concludes my presentation, but I'm happy to answer any questions. We also have transportation staff available as well.
All right, thank you. We'll call them up if we need them. If the applicant would now come forward to present their case.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Mark Frederick with Parker Poe, Adams & Bernstein at 301 Fayetteville Street. I'm here on behalf of the applicant and developer, Atlas Stark. We do have the engineer on record for this project if you'd like to swear him in right now.
Absolutely. If you would state your name, address in relation to the case.
Joe Puckett, address 501 Sherrybrook Drive, Raleigh, North Carolina, and relation as civil engineer.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you'll provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Great. Please proceed.
So this project relates to a proposed medical office at 3800 Barrett Drive. This image provides a lot of the context you need to understand why relief is needed from the driveway spacing requirements. The plans for this project do include some creative design work to avoid the need for relief from other standards, such as the cross-access requirements. So the driveway spacing standards are the only ones we actually do need relief from. So in an effort to get to the substance of our case, actually briefly before we get to that, I'll ask that our application, the exhibits, the presentation, and all attachments be admitted into the record.
Accepted. Thank you.
Great. So Mr. Puckett, could you please describe your education and experience for the commission?
Yes, NC State University for engineering. and experience 22 years of civil engineering here in Raleigh.
And what is your role in this project?
I'm the civil engineer for the project.
I'd like to offer Mr. Puckett as an expert in the field of civil engineering and site design.
Absolutely.
Great, thank you.
All right, I'll run through the presentation. So we have highlighted on the screen in the red box is the property in question. That's 3800 Barrett Drive. As you can see, the building, most of the site is impervious. We have two driveways that exist today, one on the east side, one on the west. It's about a 25,000 square foot building, and most of the site is impervious. There are driveways on the left on 3700 Barrett, where the crane is in the aerial image, and also on 3824 to the east of us that kind of bookend our site on either side. Do I click? This exhibit shows a restriction on our property. There's currently a recorded cross-access and fire protection easement that was approved with the project for 3700 next door. So there's an easement on the drive aisle on this property that's serving for fire protection and cross-access. That's why you see that hammerhead at the end. And then also there's significant topo on this site. Zooming in on that topo, you have a 260-foot elevation on the west side and a 240-foot elevation on the east side. So you've got just over 20 feet of fall across a 1.1 acre site with 258 feet of frontage. So given that the two driveways that exist outside of our property and the 200-foot driveway spacing, you can see we don't have adequate frontage even for one driveway, even though there are two there today. Just a kind of a review of the existing conditions. So this is on Barrett Drive looking east. You can see there are driveways everywhere. The building that we're removing is in the right-hand side of the image behind the tree. The existing building, again, on site is the DEQ building. And you can see that the way they handled the topo on site is to have 4 stories on the eastern facade and 3 stories on the other facade. Blue line there to show you kind of that cross across the building. And then again, topo in the back, it's not as clear in this image, but you have that same 20 feet of fall. This is looking to the east on the back of the building. The technical elevation from the architects that's in the site plan documents, you can see the red line is our average grade across the front of the building. And what we're trying to do is make sure that the pedestrian entry off of Barrett Drive is right at that average grade. So an individual can come down the right-of-way and arrive at the building on grade. But we have so much topo across the site that that's the reason that we've put the parking garage on that side, is we're able to use the ramps. You know, you enter a parking garage, you have an up ramp and you have a down ramp. And so we're using the topo fall across the site and the configuration of the parking garage to be able to work with that topo. Architectural rendering, the same elevation that we were just looking at on Barrett Drive. You can see the entry into the building. You have the entry into the parking garage noted with a parking sign above it. On the right-hand side of this image, there's the drive that is providing fire access and utility access. And then you see the stair tower, the gray, dark gray, for the 3700 property. So we've put the 2 parking garages beside each other on purpose so that if there is a patient at one and they need to go to the other, they don't have to go out onto Barrett Drive. They can cycle between the 2 parking structures. So just kind of diving deep into the site plan itself, the purple box is the property, 3800. And then the labels for the driveways. So we use letters for the off-site driveways. So driveway A is on 3700. That's off of our property. Driveway B is, again, off our property. That's 3824. And then the two numbered driveways, 1 and 2, are the on-site driveways. So driveway 1 is our main driveway into the parking structure. You pull in off Barrett, you go straight up into the structure and cycle like a normal parking deck. And then driveway 2 is a utilitarian driveway. This is to provide that fire access for our neighbor, as well as access to the dumpsters in the rear of the property, that, putting all the dumpsters in one area for both buildings. This drive also serves that cross-access purpose. It goes straight back to the property from Barrett Drive. We're providing cross-access to the properties to the south. And then the yellow marking is cross-access across all the properties. So you saw that we have the 20 feet of fall, but you will be able to drive in your car from 3700 parking garage, follow this yellow line, go down the ramp, go through the garage, down the ramp again, and under the building, and come out on 3824. Because cross-access is required in the UDO. We've been able to use the grade of the site to be able to provide cross-access to all the properties. And the reason this is important is it keeps trips off of Barrett Drive. You're able to circulate from one business to the other without putting a trip onto the road. So the specific request, design alternate reducing the driveway spacing by 110.5 feet between the adjacent driveway A and driveway 1 on site. Request number 2, design alternate reducing the driveway spacing by 158.8 feet between the adjacent property A and driveway 2 on site. This is that shared and fire access driveway. And then request number 3, design alternate reducing driveway spacing by 151.7 feet between the two on-site driveways. These are the findings from the Raleigh Street Design Manual. I'm going to walk through each one independently. So number 1, the approved design alternate is consistent with the intent of the Raleigh Street Design Manual. So we say yes, that this project proposes shared and consolidated access, cross-access and fire access for the two properties, and sets up cross-access for all the surrounding properties. The purpose of the Raleigh Street Design Manual in connection with vehicular access is to provide adequate facilities to serve and protect all users. The requested driveway placement permits the safe access to medical care while reducing the number of access points on the site consistent with safety on this low-traffic street. The existing property has 2 driveways and only 2 proposed. And one of those driveways in particular is in the exact same location as it exists today. Majority of the traffic will be to and from the parking garage and also to and from the adjacent parking garage. We are providing signage on the parking garage to make it clear that visitors are to arrive at that location, and we're also show on our site plan signage on the fire and access drive that says, this is a fire and loading area, to discourage people from using that middle drive, even though they could. There are many requirements in the Raleigh Street Design Manual and UDO, including but not limited to cross-access, pedestrian access, bicycle access, and streetscape. Our project complies with all these things except for the spacing. So yes, we believe that we comply with the intent of the Raleigh Street Design Manual. And one other note is even the Raleigh Street Design Manual itself says if there's a conflict between this code and the fire code should prevail. So we have a need to meet that for our project for our neighboring site. And obviously we need to keep that fire protection in place. Number 2, the approved design alternate does not increase congestion or compromise safety. The primary driveway aligns in proximity to its existing location, and the second driveway is for cross-access and fire access. It's a shared driveway. So there was a traffic study performed with this project because of the size of the building. We were just over the threshold for a TIA, and there are very good levels of service on this road. It's just not heavily trafficked, and our building had no impact on traffic. So there are no improvements required in that TIA. The existing property, again, it's the same as the previous finding. The existing property has 2 driveways and 2 proposed. So it's not making the situation worse. And one driveway in this exact location, majority of the traffic will be to and from the parking garage and the adjacent parking garage. And we've made it very clear for visitors with signage. That's what's shown in our current site plan. One additional constraint is this is just a very small site with limited frontage. So we've done the best we can to consolidate all the parking traffic to basically one location. Finding number 3, the approved design alternate does not create additional maintenance responsibilities for the city. All these driveways are on the property that the developer is going to maintain, so no additional work for the city. And then the approved design alternate has been designed and certified by a professional engineer or other design professional licensed to design and seal and certify the alternate. These plans have been designed by me, and I'm a professional engineer. The approved design alternate will not adversely impact stormwater collection and conveyance. The property was largely impervious to start with, and we have stormwater treatment proposed on this project. It's actually in that fire access drive. We have underground vaults with treatment in them, so we're capturing the stormwater, treating it, and releasing it at a lower rate than it did previously. So no adverse impacts to stormwater and meeting all of the Raleigh stormwater requirements. And then the last one, the design alternate is deemed reasonable due to one or more of the following, and then we've picked Part B of that, which is the burden of compliance is not reasonable given the size of the site or the intensity of the development. So we're a small site. We have significant topo, 20 feet from one side to the other. And we worked very hard. We went through probably 20 design iterations to land on this configuration to address all the other aspects of the code, because it was very clear that we weren't going to meet the driveway spacing no matter what. So we've met cross-access fire, but we're unable to meet driveway spacing. Intensity of development, I guess, is what this next point is, that the existing building was, 3 stories. We're coming back with a 3-story medical office building. Therefore, we're saying that the burden of compliance is not reasonable given the 2 existing driveways, that there are already 2 driveways there, and we're just proposing 2 driveways. And then this is just a cleaned up graphic of the site plan with the driveways labeled A and B for the offsite, 1 and 2 for the onsite. You can see in this image that we've got 237 feet from driveway 1 to driveway B. So we're not just kicking the can down the road, we're setting it up so that our next neighbor that develops doesn't have this same design alternate request in the future. And then I'd really thank you for your time and your service to our community and hearing us on this presentation. Open to any questions.
There anything further from the applicant? Questions from the commission? You've walked through this, but just to confirm a couple of things, the configuration doesn't work flipping the parking deck to the other side because of the topography.
We did look at flipping the parking deck, and what that would do is mean we couldn't meet cross-access. There wouldn't be a way to get back to the 3,700 property because of that topo difference.
Okay.
It actually got us a lot more parking spaces, which the client liked, but it didn't meet, parts of the code, other parts of the code.
Got it. And then, the existing fire access agreement was less amenable than this design alternate. In other words, there wasn't an ability to shift the fire access to be able to route through the parking deck.
No, a fire truck will not go into a parking deck, okay. So they have to be in an open area.
Okay.
Because they have a ladder that they put up.
Okay. And then lastly, was there a design that looked at outletting onto that fire access road as a means of reducing one of the driveway entrances?
We did, and we talked about that with staff as well. But what that does is it creates a number of problems in the parking garage because you have turning movements that cross each other in that parking entry. So you would come into that rear entry and you'd have people trying to go left and right and come in the entry all at the same time. Normal parking movement is to pull straight in off the street and go up the ramp that, would serve everybody. So you'd have conflict point, and also another point to note about the design on this building is it's a medical office building. So you've got, patients with potential disabilities that, we've got significant handicap parking, but they're not the top drivers necessarily. So, putting that difficult decision point at the rear of the property and also not having it visible to them on the street makes it not desirable design-wise.
That goes both ways too.
Yeah.
Having 3 stacked driveway next to each other could create a challenging situation. At my recollection, I recall at the 3700 case, the biggest challenge with it was just the askew alignment to the,
yes.
yeah.
I'll also add real quick, there will be signage for that, the fire access driveway, that it is intended for fire and drop-offs and utilities. So it'll be clearly marked what those driveways are for to intentionally direct patients to the parking deck so they are not utilizing the fire access quite as much.
Yeah. If you go to this rendering, I think it kind of shows like the parking is signed, it'll have the sign there that says parking and people see that and know that they're supposed to go there. And then the other it's not shown in this image, but it's shown on my site plan that we have fire and loading only signs shown for entering that driveway to try and discourage people from using it.
Yeah.
And then different treatments. So we've got pavement shown for the driveway coming off of Barrett Drive, so it blends that material and feels like a seamless transition into the parking deck. But then we've got stamped concrete shown for the utility driveway so that it feels more utilitarian.
Any other questions from the commission?
I had the same ones that answered them.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Are there any members of the public who are here who would like to speak on this? Okay, seeing none. We will now close the hearing for the commission to deliberate on this. If someone could navigate us back to the findings for driveway spacing. Okay, thoughts from commission on meeting or not these findings?
Yeah, I guess I'd start with 4D, knowing the constraints on that site and the challenges of getting a deck to maximize use of that property, the topography, the burden of compliance is not reasonable, right? In my opinion, given the constraints there.
Yeah, I think the fire access agreement complicates this tremendously.
Tremendously, and the way they've addressed it, the rendering showed it pretty well. If it's going to be loading fire access only on that intermediate drive, the actual visitor parking's very clearly labeled. I wouldn't anticipate a lot of people trying to use that fire access when it's very clearly signed that this is where you want to be.
I mean, I think the biggest issue is people exiting from the fire access simultaneously. But yeah,
True.
Right.
People will find the fire access first, though, because that's the way you come in, so you'll see that. But that's something that can be remedied with a sign. That's not a big deterrent, but people will go into that first because they'll approach it. They'll see that first before they'll see the driveway first before they see the parking sign first. So, but that could be remedied with signage, but that would be like your natural inclination for it. The street is not busy at all. There's not a lot of traffic on that road.
True, it is a slow street.
It's very, very slow. So that's a good plus.
But to address the differences between the two, they did do consistent materials going into the parking driveway to encourage you to see that as your main
First step.
entrance. Yeah.
Yeah, they've definitely done some things clearly in design, materiality, et cetera, to try to address it. Yeah, there's the same amount of entrances, but they've concentrated them, which creates some additional, safety complications, but there's other things going on. Do you have a comment?
You stole my point, so.
Oh.
I'm seeing some plantings in the site plan, and I don't recall if I saw them in the rendering. Would that potentially obscure the sign and make things more complicated, depending on their height?
I'm open to, I actually, typically in this situation, we do ask staff just to confirm a couple things, so I'm open to opening the hearing and just asking that. We're going to do it anyway.
If others have that concern, sure.
Okay. All right, we'll reopen the hearing, and then can we have city staff, I think, was it Mensa that, I'll swear you in, too. Actually, you were already sworn in previously, so we're good. If you'll just confirm you're still under oath from the previous hearing.
I am.
Seeing these designs, obviously you've worked with them in arriving to these through the multiple iterations. Are there any other designs that have been considered that could be considered here in terms of addressing or increasing the safety of this configuration?
Any other designs? No, I haven't seen any. I will say I do want to recognize Joe and his design team for going through all the considerations, looking at a lot of the constraints, and ultimately providing a design. But I haven't seen any other design, and I don't know if there's any other design consideration at this time. I think that's why we're here.
Okay. Do you have as the reviewer here, do you have concerns with the safety of the configuration?
I do have some concerns. Ultimately, it's going to be from driveway A and driveway 1.
Yeah.
And the potential for that conflict from driveway A making the right out and then driveway 1 making the left out. 3700 is going to pull in a certain amount of vehicular traffic, additionally now with 3800. And so though there aren't any impacts based on the analysis that's going to require any updates or upgrades at nearby intersections or off-site improvements, I think that one operation is a concern. But I do say that, again, there were various considerations. There's some constraints there. They may mention about the easement, the grades there. Cross-access is a requirement from the UDO, and that's being provided. My question back to the applicant at the time was, is there any way to consolidate the driveway? But I think based on how the site configuration and ultimately how the site will be served, that's just not a consideration.
Okay, last question, and you've kind of touched on it already, but are there any other remedies or solutions that could be considered here to improve the safety of the proposed configuration?
Anything additional? I can't think of anything additional. They made mention to the signage for parking, made mention to making the driveway transition stand out more so it's more seamless for access from Barrett Drive, and then also providing a bit of a different a visual cue for the service and fire entrance.
All right, any questions, additional questions for Mensa? Okay, thank you. If the applicant could just confirm Brooke's question on vegetation, the landscaping, if that would be obstructing the signage.
I guess, is that the rendering that you were looking at that you were concerned about?
It was the site plan. It just looks like it's on both sides of the signed entrance.
Gotcha. So there are street trees that are required along Barrett Drive, but those are high enough that you can see out. You know, there's sight distance triangles that we have. And then, you know, street trees are usually limbed high enough that you can, when you're in your car, you're lower than them and you can see past. So yeah, there is required landscaping, but we're trying to put it kind of in the middle and make the driveways clear. There's spacing requirements too on street trees, so there's a lot of requirements.
Okay.
Good. All right, thank you. We will now close the hearing again for deliberation of the commission. With that additional details, and I don't think we need to navigate back to the findings. I think we've covered the basis on this as far as, is there additional safety or other elements here that could be considered, back to Dave's point on the intensity and the just unique conditions of the site with the fire access. I don't feel like the signage rises to the level of condition or something like that. I feel like they've already got a plan for it, and it seems in their interest to do so. So I'm happy to make a motion to approve the three design alternates as presented, if there would be a second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, seeing none, that passes. Commission's written decision will be adopted when the minutes of this meeting are adopted, and the written decision will be provided to the applicant and other parties with the right to such notice following adoption of the decision. Thank you. Okay, Keegan, are you presenting DA 6, 2025 as well?
Yes.
You may proceed and you'll confirm that you're still, under oath, but please proceed.
All right. So thank you. This is DA 6, 2025. It's a collection of properties located along Clarendon Crest. Project name is Longview Town. So you can see there's 3 properties there today, right near Enloe High School, zoned R4CU, and also with the Transit Overlay District atop that base zoning designation. So what they're proposing on this 1.74 acre site is 35 townhouse lots, and they're here today related to driveway spacing. So there's the 2 site driveways and then also a driveway to the north on Enloe, and so those are the specific driveway requests. I did want to note that the application included a request related to a streetscape element, which was sidewalk. We encountered an error with the noticing for that particular request, so we're working in the background administratively to understand how we're going to manage that. Could come back as a separate item, but today the attention will just be on these 2 driveway requests because those were noticed properly. So I just wanted to note that if you saw it in the application materials. So here's just a kind of more detailed image showing the spacing between the 2 site driveways, and then also the northern site driveway and the driveway to the north on Enloe and the spacing between those. So that covers my portion of the presentation. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Great, thank you. The applicant would come forward.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. Michael Birch with Longleaf Law Partners. Also have Jason Meadows, professional engineer, with me here if we want to go ahead and get sworn in.
Yes, if you would just restate your name, connection to the case, and your address, please.
Yes, sir. Jason Meadows with RDU Consulting. I am the civil engineer on the project. Address is 910 Tryon Hill Drive, Suite 100, Raleigh, North Carolina.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you'll provide be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir, I do.
Great.
Great. And in the interest of time, I'm going to just try and get through our presentation. Jason's certainly here to help answer any questions. Also with us here this evening is the applicant, Matt Tomasulo. So again, just to narrow our requests, there are 2, both driveway spacing. The first is about the 2 site driveways, 200-foot standard. They are spaced 147 feet, so we've got a 53-foot request. And then the spacing from our northern site driveway to a driveway that serves just a small parking lot at Enlow. Again, 200-foot standard. They are spaced 170 feet apart, so just asking for 30 feet of relief there. Again, Keegan showed you the aerial here. Again, I do want to note this parking lot is just a parking lot. No drop-off activities occur there. It's just largely staff for that building. Again, here's just a zoom in. Currently 3 single-family homes. This property was rezoned, approved in February of this year to implement the desired density here approximate to the city's first BRT line along New Bern Avenue. Again, this is the site plan showing the 35 proposed townhouse lots with that kind of looped driveway. That's just another version there. Again, this is similar to what Keegan showed, the distance, driveway distance. I will note we are compliant with spacing for the driveway, from our southern site driveway to the next driveway to the south. And just on that aerial, you may have seen there are 4 existing driveways today serving these 3 lots. And obviously we are condensing those down to 2 site driveways. Again, that's just a zoomed in version there. And again, this is just that zoomed in picture of the parking lot to see just that limited parking. So we'll stop there, kind of go to this. So we'll hit the standards on these 2 spacing requests, consistent with the kind of the intent of these spacing standards, both in the UDO and the Raleigh Street Design Manual. Again, they're spaced in a way that maximizes the spacing as much as possible, given existing driveways to the north, of course to the south as well, and then really the need to provide that looped road, which is much more a safe, efficient means of getting through the site, right? The alternate is to provide one access point that then kind of serves these units, which would require reverse movements for certainly solid waste vehicles, fire vehicles, and any delivery vehicles, loading, unloading as well. Again, and those reverse movements would come with obvious safety issues. Again, the site triangles associated with both site driveways are compliant with the city's standards. And again, reduces the number of driveways in this area among these lots, which reduces the potential points of pedestrian vehicular conflict. Next standard does not increase congestion or compromise safety. Again, those distances that we are providing, 170 feet to the north, 140 feet, 147 feet between the 2 site driveways, sufficient amount of spacing to still provide that required site distance. Again, provide safer internal movements. There is not any approved roadway project in this area along Clarendon. This alternate and the site plan has been prepared by a professional engineer, Jason Meadows. This site driveway spacing does not affect stormwater. Our stormwater collection is down in this area here. The site falls off Clarendon, and so nothing about the driveway spacing or location affects stormwater. And on the last standard, reasonable, due to really the burden of compliance, not reasonable given just the low intensity of the site, the low volume at these site driveways, really about 1 car per 3 minutes in the peak hours, and particularly in the afternoon, right, that in-load traffic is usually out by about 3:30 or so. And so none of that traffic affecting the peak hour in the afternoon. And again, obviously the low volume associated with that staff parking lot to the north. I will say, just from a vehicular movement in terms of the school students, most of the students, the ones that drive to school, actually park way north of Enlow, if you're familiar, along Bertie, that section of Lord Ashley, and most of the time not, having lived in this neighborhood on Lord Ashley and Lord Berkeley, the students not really using Clarendon Crest. It's either Longview Lake or King Charles or Lord Ashley or Lord Berkeley. So again, in the interest of time, we will hold our presentation there. Again, myself, Jason Meadows, as well as Matt is here if there are any questions about the application.
Great, thank you. Questions from the commission? And you touched on the one I was going to ask about. I'm not familiar with the circulation, but it sounds like there isn't any type of queuing or drop-off that occurs in that.
Correct. Not in the afternoon. Again, they're out by about, excuse me, the school ends at 2:20, so most of the traffic is out by 2:45. Even in the morning, it starts at 7:25. Cars are typically out by 7:30. The access point for this Enlow main entrance is way up here on Clarendon. And so they actually have, and they also have an access off of Lord Ashley with a lot of internal storage there as well. So
Great. Questions from the commission? Seeing none? Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Are there any members of the public who wish to speak on this case? Okay, seeing none. The commission will now close to deliberate on this case. Yes, thank you, Keegan. I'll go first. I think this seems extremely reasonable. It's marginal requests for alternate, and I think the U versus 2 separate driveways seems very reasonable. Even the 170 feet versus 200 feet seems very reasonable. So I don't feel like this compromises safety or increases congestion in any way. So I don't know if anyone has any other thoughts to that end.
And there's 3 properties there, so those could have each had a single driveway, so we're capping it at 2.
Yeah.
This way.
You're adding 35 cars.
Yeah.
In a transit overlay.
Yeah.
Which is intended to get as much density as we can right there. And if we're
Could be students
not-
walking to
if we're
school.
resisting the density, then we're.
I know, 35 cars and students.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Okay. Would someone like to make a motion here or provide additional thoughts?
You going for a record? I motion to approve the requested reductions. How do you want to word it?
Just approve the 3 design alternates as
Approve the
requested.
3 design alternates.
Is there a second?
I second.
All those in favor? Aye.
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 Are there anyone opposed? Okay, seeing none, that passes. Commission's written decision will be adopted when the minutes of this meeting are adopted, and the written decision will be provided to applicant and other parties with right to such notice following adoption of the decision. We've done it. All right, Casey, if you will please present DA 7, 2025. And
Yes,
confirm
and
that
I'm
you're still
still
under
under
oath
oath.
from before.
All right, so this property is located at the intersection of Clark Avenue and Enterprise Street, and extends south to Garden Place. The property is zoned office mixed use, 5 stories with the urban limited frontage and conditional use. The applicant is proposing a 15-lot townhouse subdivision containing 14 proposed townhouse units that are rear-loaded off of a shared internal driveway. The applicant is requesting 3 design alternates, including a request to reduce the right-of-way width along Clark Avenue, to provide tree islands along Clark Avenue and Enterprise Street in lieu of the tree grates that are required, and to reduce the driveway to intersection spacing for the proposed driveway onto Garden Place and the intersection of Enterprise Street. We talked about this some already with some of the other requests, so I will move along. You have your findings again here for the street cross sections, the 6 findings that you've seen a couple times already this evening. And then for the requests related to the streetscape or the Raleigh Street Design Manual, again, you have 6 design alternate findings that need to be met there. So I went through that really quickly. If there are no questions, I will turn it over to the applicant.
Great. The applicant will come forward.
Thank you. Good evening. Molly Stewart, Morningstar Law Group, here on behalf of the applicant. I do have with me this evening as well John Callahan, professional engineer. While he is getting sworn in, I will hand out a couple of additional materials. These are simply backup to items that I will be showing you during the presentation, but wanted you to have the complete materials as well.
Okay. If you would state your name, relation to the case, and address.
I'm John Callahan with John Edwards and Company, P.O. Box 10422, Raleigh. And I'm the engineer of record for the project.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you will provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. And that's accepted as well, so thank you.
Thank you. John, can you tell us a bit about your education, your experience, and I believe you've already covered your role on the project as well.
Yes, I have a BS degree in civil engineering from UNC Charlotte. I have over 33 years experience in land development. Been owner of John A. Edwards and Company since 2007.
Thank you. I'd like to tender Mr. Callahan as an expert witness in design and engineering.
Received. Thanks.
Thank you. I would also request that all slides and handouts, as well as our application materials, be admitted to the record.
Accepted. Thank you.
Thank you. So the handouts that you are receiving are, again, things that we'll cover in the presentation. There was a recent amendment to the street type in this area after a neighboring development, so we'll talk about that. I've also provided some of the tax records for an adjacent building as well that will be relevant to our driveway spacing issue. So to begin with a bit of additional orientation, obviously the site is here. These are recently developed townhomes next door. This is the apartment building that you have in your materials that I've handed out that we'll be discussing here in a bit. Just a view looking west down Clark Avenue at the townhomes that we saw on the plan. And here we have the overview of the site plan. And the 3 requests, I'll just locate them for you here. One relates to the right-of-way width here. The other is about these planters that continue down this way. And then we have the spacing of this driveway to this intersection as well. John, can you tell us a bit about how you ended this design, and particularly with the driveway where it is, and why we're making the 3 requests we're making today?
Yes, the adjacent project is similar in nature. They established a streetscape along Clark Avenue. We really like to continue that streetscape. It's a nice urban feel. We're right here next to the Village District, which is across, and this is a highly pedestrian area. This makes it a little more interesting. And so we also want to increase our landscaping with some smaller plants in the tree islands along with the trees, which will be maintained by the owner under an encroachment agreement that would have to be approved during the SPR phase of this project.
Thank you. So as I mentioned, there was a text change that changed the street section after these townhomes were built. So in order to continue the street section that was recently put in place here to the west, we would have to make a change to that. There is the change that was made in particular. This is the change in the right-of-way width. It was 90 feet wide, now it is 95 feet. And that's the reason for that request. Right. So with that, we will go through the standards. Now, Two of the requests are from the same section of the code, so I'll handle the street width request together with the tree well request, and then move on to the driveway spacing request. So our standards, and John and I are going to go back and forth with this one. The first standard is that the approved design alternate is consistent with the intent. The intent of this section of the code, 8.5, is to provide a palette of street topologies and design elements reflecting the character of different areas within the city. It's hard to imagine reflecting the character of this area any better than continuing that street section around, not only down to the corner, but then down on Enterprise as well. There it is. The second standard is that the approved design alternate does not increase congestion or compromise safety. John, can you address this standard?
There's really no impact to safety here. It's just being consistent with the existing streetscape that's already been provided there.
And I'll just note that having a jog in the street section can sometimes be confusing as well. Oops, there we go. The third standard is that the approved alternate does not create additional city maintenance responsibilities for the city.
Yes, and there's no additional, and as I stated already, it's actually be less maintenance required by the city because the owner will be taking maintenance of the trees, the tree islands, as well as irrigation with the approval of an encroachment agreement.
So this design alternate needs to be designed and certified by a professional engineer.
And this was done by me.
Thank you. The design alternate should not adversely impact stormwater collection and conveyance. What would be the impacts on that?
The streetscape is consistent. Again, it's really no different. The sidewalk improvements are included in our stormwater calculations, and we are meeting the city's requirements on stormwater.
Thank you. And finally, the design alternate is deemed reasonable due to one or more of the following. And the one that's relevant here is that we are transitioning from a different street section. So what is required today is different from what was required a few years ago when the property to the west had its streetscape approved. And in order to continue that down the street, this request is necessary. And those are all of the standards related to the tree wells as well as the street width here. So with that, we will turn to our final request. And here, I just want to note the distance, again, is here from the driveway on Garden Street over to Enterprise Street. I want to highlight this area. You'll be seeing other photos highlighting this area. That's a parking area that is relevant to the need for this spacing. So you see here that proposed driveway is roughly in the middle of the frontage on Garden Place. Now, if it were moved farther to the west, it would be closer to those cars that you see parked in there, sort of perpendicular parking. That's an apartment building. You have the tax information about that one as well, so you can kind of see how that appears from the street and how the cars are sort of backing in or backing out, one or the other. And to put this driveway closer to that, we believe would actually be more confusing than pushing it just a bit closer up there to Enterprise Street. So with that, we will go through those standards. All right, so the standards for this request are very similar. That the approved design alternate is consistent with the intent of the Raleigh Street Design Manual, and in this case, that intent is to provide safe and convenient vehicular and pedestrian access within developments and between adjacent developments, and to lessen traffic congestion. John, what do you see as the impact here?
This driveway is located on a very low-traffic cul-de-sac. There's very little traffic here, and it does, with this location, provides a little buffer from the on-street parking, kind of splitting the difference from there in the intersection.
Thank you. And the second goal is to ensure that the design alternate does not increase congestion or compromise safety. How have we addressed that standard?
Well, we've provided a distance there that's suitable for a cul-de-sac with that little bit of traffic. The site triangles are shown there. You can see them here and here. They're clear. There's no topo or obstructions that block that sight distance. With a stop condition and controlled access at that intersection, there's really no safety concerns there. And we're not increasing congestion just with the low amount of traffic.
Thank you. The next standard is that the approved alternate does not create additional maintenance responsibilities. What do you see there?
There's no difference in any location along that street. We need a driveway somewhere, so the maintenance would be the same.
I believe we've already covered that this was designed and certified by a professional engineer. Can you
It
please
is.
just confirm?
Yes, confirm.
Thank you. And also, the approved design alternate will not adversely impact stormwater collection and conveyance. Any impact there?
None that is adverse. We are addressing the impervious increase with our stormwater calculations, and we're meeting the city's guidelines.
Thank you. And finally, the design alternate should be deemed reasonable due to one or more of a list of options, one being, again, transitioning from a different street section. And here, this refers to that immediately adjacent street section to the west with that head-in parking. So showing something different that operates in a way that could conflict here as well. John, any other factors that went into this particular location for the driveway?
Just would like to point out that although we are not providing fire access internal to the site, this driveway location provides much better hose pull and protection for the building rather than having to pull a long way around to reach all portions of the building. So,
All right. Thank you. And with that, we are available for your questions. Thank you.
Okay, questions from the commission?
So if you complied with the right-of-way as designed right now, everything would move 5 feet south, I guess, along that parking bay. That would jump south. Your planters would move 5 feet south in the middle of that block.
it would be 2.5 feet of additional right-of-way dedications, half of the 5 from the center line, right? But it would put a jog in the streetscape that.
Including that on-street parking bay, that would jog.
The on-street parking would remain the same. It was just the sidewalk would be, there'd be more right-of-way than what there is sidewalk there now. That's not needed.
Okay.
And the newer cross-section includes a behind-the-curb bike lane. Is that part of the added width? It just would be a very short
50-foot bike lane?
Yeah.
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 It does. It's just a very short section, and it's not there already.
Got it.
I know we did, Keegan mentioned this in the opening. I know it wasn't noticed, but, you know, the other request that could come back at a later point is that, no, that was to the previous. All right, wonderful, perfect.
I have a question on Garden Place. There's street trees along the south side of the property. Those are code required?
Sorry?
Are those code required trees?
Yes.
And can you elaborate on, I'm looking at the landscape plan that was included in our packet. Can you elaborate on what type of trees those are? And I'm a little concerned about sightlines coming out of that internal drive.
They are on the approved street tree list that we would have picked and meet the required spacing from the street manual.
And are those trees going to be maintained by the city, or are those maintained by
Those will be maintained by the city, yes,
the
correct.
city? Okay. And I guess they would limb them up. They appear to be trident maples.
Same thing running down Wilmington Street. Those are at the top of your mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you speak a little bit more to the kind of street context on Enterprise Street with regards to the kind of the tree islands? Yeah, I'm familiar with the Clark Street, but how that relates to the rest of Enterprise Street. As in, what's the kind of existing sidewalk configuration along Enterprise Street on the additional blocks on this west side of the street.
I'm sorry, I'm a little hard of hearing. There's a 14-foot sidewalk existing there today with the 4 by 25-foot tree islands. Those have a single tree in each one with like liriope and smaller ground cover plants in between. And we're just matching that, continuing that same section with the same width of the sidewalk and the
Gotcha.
same.
So just the street curb to curb width the same immediately to the south of this site?
I'm not following your question.
I'm mainly just trying to get to the context of the properties to the south.
South of Garden Place.
Yes.
They go to a standard, fairly certain that just goes to a standard sidewalk with a plant strip there. There's no tree islands south of there.
And there's sidewalk on both, I see the sidewalk on both sides.
There
of the
is sidewalk
street,
on
yeah.
both sides.
You said that there's currently an 8-foot, what was the existing sidewalk width you said?
We're doing 14 on Clark, and I think we've got 16. Can we get back to the, oh, sorry. There's a 16-foot sidewalk along Enterprise.
Does
from the curb
that
to the
include
back
the
of
tree
sidewalk.
islands, or does that not include the tree islands?
Including the tree islands.
Okay,
Right.
from edge of the building to the tree island, how wide is that?
So there's 10 feet from the edge of the sidewalk to the edge of the tree island.
Okay, and then the existing sidewalk that exists today on that site is how wide?
On the south side would be 6 foot. I think we've got a 5-foot existing sidewalk there today.
You got it, thank you. Any other questions from the commission? Okay, thank you. Are there any members of the public who are here and would like to speak on the case? If you would please come forward. And I will, be clear here, and this can be confusing to people. This is as a quasi-judicial case, and Pat may be able to speak to this as well. Members of the public are able to speak, but you need to speak to factual testimony concerning the request itself. So it has to relate to the design alternates and how it does or does not meet the applicable standards. So that's what the commission has to base the decision on, and not opinion or preference to that end. So with that, if you would please state your name, address in relation to the case. Pat, did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
I don't, thank you.
Okay. So name, address, relation to the site.
My name is Susan Touchette, and my address is 2315 Clark Avenue. And I am a member of the Board of Directors of the Clark Avenue Townhomes Homeowners Association. And we simply are here today to go on record that we are present at this hearing as a concerned neighbor, and we have no other comment.
Okay. Let me swear you in, but...
Sorry about that.
Yeah, you're fine. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you'll provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
So just to confirm there, you're just saying that you're here?
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Commission, any questions further for staff or the applicant? Okay, seeing none, we will close the hearing for deliberation. If someone could navigate us back to the first set of findings relating to the tree island and cross section. Yes, thank you. I'll welcome comment here. I will just say I do think it seems very reasonable to continue the existing configuration on Clark Street. That seems like the best scenario here. Yeah, unifying. I don't think that marginal increase of additional 5 feet make a ton of sense. And I like that they've added the additional green tree island element to it and are taking ownership of that to maintain it. So
Agreed.
the cross-section seems pretty straightforward. Any thoughts on Tree Island? With regards to that, you kind of wrapping around onto Enterprise Street versus Clark Street, or
The fact that they're there,
related to their design alternate?
I mean, I think it makes sense to give it the project a cohesive look going from Clark down Enterprise.
concur.
Any other thoughts here on Tree Island, whether it's reasonable?
Are there any other things related to tree islands versus the tree grates that
It's probably a best
we're not thinking of?
addressed question to more of the experts on that.
I'm looking
Yeah,
at Dave.
if you do tree grates, you've got to do the subsurface soil cells or structural soil. But if I remember right, what he's got is compliant with the standard city detail, the 20-foot length. They're irrigating them. That's not common, but good.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything inherently wrong.
No, it's great. Most
Yeah.
people just usually don't. It's not required.
And, in all scenarios here, we're getting a more robust pedestrian connection in a corridor that actually sees pedestrian activity, so that's good. Okay, I'm not seeing anything else on these first two. On driveway spacing, any concerns here with Garden Place? I will say, being reasonably familiar with the site and it being a cul-de-sac, this seems like the best site for a driveway to service this property, and seems reasonable to be that close to the intersection.
Do we have transportation staff here for this case? Could we open it up and ask Kevin a question?
Yes. Any other thoughts before we open it? Any other questions? Okay. We'll reopen the hearing. And Kevin, if you would please confirm you're still under oath from earlier today.
I understand. So
Kevin,
what's
just
the question?
curious, from your perspective, are there any safety concerns that you have with this condition?
I don't. I actually think where their driveway's placed is the best place operationally. Next door, there's, I guess, maybe student housing or otherwise, but they have essentially a parking lot, on-street parking, and this gets them 20-plus feet away from it. You had asked a question about site distance earlier. The way we review street trees is, generally speaking, they don't get that large at DBH, right? And the canopy's traditionally 8 foot or higher. And so that's, in the way the whole setup is, we're looking at that in the context of being appropriate for site distance.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, we'll close
Motion to
We'll close the hearing again for deliberation.
Sorry.
And now you can go with your motion.
Finally. Motion to approve the alternate request.
The 3 alternate requests as presented. Is there a second to that?
Second.
Second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, that motion carries. The Commission's written decision will be adopted when the minutes of this meeting are adopted, and the written decision will be provided to the applicant and other parties with the right to such notice following the adoption of the decision. Thank you. Okay, that concludes the quasi-judicial portion of our agenda. Casey, is there anything else that we need to cover tonight? Is there any final reminders for Walter Raleigh Awards that we need to hit?
If you haven't RSVP'd yet, please do so. I'm watching the RSVPs coming in, so if you haven't already done so, please do so. So that'll help us.
Approximately how many, not calling out names, commissioners?
The commissioners?
Yeah.
I didn't check today, so a handful have.
Okay. So yes, please RSVP, and then we'll note we are doing the walking tour of Gibson Play Plaza with Kate Pierce, who's the executive director of Dix Park with the city, and that will be more kind of design focused, and we'll kick off at 5 p.m. So that's Yes, we absolutely need RSVPs for the walking tour. That's capped at 35 people. So RSVP yourself, please invite, other folks to that. And when we hit 35, we'll cut it off. But that is possible, definitely possible. We hit 35. So otherwise, events at 6. I think we've got volunteers for all of our speaking arrangements. We've got Ruffin Hall, who will be doing a welcome to the park as well as vision of the park. And then Mayor Pro Tem Fort will be providing some welcome remarks. And Historic Development Commission is joining us to do plaques again. Yes, the landmark designation. Any questions on that before we break? If not, that's coming up on the 17th. It'll be here fast. So exciting. With that, meeting adjourned.